Hi. What's up, everybody? I'm tired. Puck's here. He's hanging out. He's having a better day than I am. Oh, yeah, I already have this up. Sorry, that's not supposed to be up yet, but you know, whatever. Why not? That's just a little thing for me. You guys also don't need my streaming now thing. There it is. I have both of these pulled up. I was rewatching them before going live about this, but let's take this off. But this bit here is probably the fact this video still exists, and Jimmy linked to it in his description here, unlisted the original, but for integrity's sake, I'll leave it linked here, is, I think, the only honest thing about this. That's my opinion. There's a lot to talk about. I didn't take as detailed notes as some other people because I think a lot of other people have already covered the majority of the nuances of a lot of the problems of what Jimmy's actually said in between these two videos, and his behaviors in regards to those things. Those are some of the channels that I looked at have been linked in the description below if you want to check those out. There are a few things I want to cover only because I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective when it comes to Jimmy in particular. Only because a lot of the people that are covering him now are more or less unfamiliar with him prior to at least a year or two ago. Whereas I'm a little bit more familiar with how this is absolutely not new and nobody should be surprised. I don't feel bad, but I do understand that there are a lot of people that are hurt by his behavior and the way he's treated them in his audience. I understand why. I understand exactly how this happened. I'm not part of that group, and I feel bad, but not in the way that I think most people mean it when they say it that way. There is a lot to talk about, and I'm gonna try and kind of go through this in a way that makes sense to me, but I'm probably gonna fail. There's just, it's a lot, and it's important to maybe know a little bit about my history with Jimmy, publicly and maybe a little bit privately, which admittedly is not a whole lot, although he does seem to have a habit of overplaying his relationships with people or underplaying them when it's convenient. So I'm gonna, maybe I should start with showing you how this is not the first time. Most of you who follow my channel are actually well aware of Jimmy's handling of the non-sequitur show situation, or lack of handling the non-sequitur show situation. But let me go to the very beginning here. I kind of wish I had the date on this. It just says yesterday. It's too bad. So a lot of these won't have dates on them, which is really a shame, but they're from before or as non-sequitur show was exploding. So there's a couple of things in here that are kind of indicative. Jimmy Snow, every time I meet someone new and they ask me what I do for a living, I often have the overwhelming urge to lie on the off chance they want to have a big old thing about it. Unless I'm in the mood for a fight, then I go full Antichrist. Things like this are, for the most part, genuinely innocuous. Not a big deal. But there's this indication of this overwhelming urge to lie that you might see a little bit of a theme about. I'm certain, at a certain point, I get tired of people trying to force me to participate in things they know I won't, and I just whip out the old block button. Bye! Yeah, this is a common... What's the word? Pattern of behavior from Jimmy. Him doing this in regards to Rachel Oates and this Gabby Hanna situation that he's got himself into, which we will get to, is very, very much a part of the way Jimmy has always been. It's just, I think a lot of people weren't aware of it, I guess. I said, if this is about non-sex stuff, it seems that it may have slipped the mind that you involved yourself and decided to speak about it publicly. Things didn't go the way you claimed, so people are reasonably curious. Sorry, but this just makes sense. Maybe blocking might be harmful here. Essentially, for anybody who doesn't know, Non Sequitur Show blew the hell up. Steve and Kyle, who were on Non Sequitur Show together, Kyle stole a shitload of money and the channel and fucking ran. He's still got an arrest warrant out. It's been 2 years. And Jimmy assured Steve that he would be paid by Kyle. He streamed publicly to Steve's channel during a cease and desist when he knew damn well exactly what was going on, and then is trying to participate in things they know I won't. Bitch, you participated all by yourself. You can't say you're gonna stop playing because you don't like that you're losing the game. Yeah, no. Regarding Non-Sex Show, I have not universally stated that I would, he means not universally stated, that I would engage publicly, and when I have engaged, it has been to describe why I won't engage further. You streamed to the channel, Jimmy. You fucking helped Kyle. People insisting of coming and trying to hijack unrelated tweets and shows, etc., I will bounce. I'm not sure a show featuring Kyle and answering questions via voicemail. I guess I should show you guys that one, shouldn't I? Let me see. 'Cause who am I to not show you guys exactly what I'm talking about? Because I'm sure there are some people who are fans of Jimmy who aren't actually aware of this. Or some people who don't like Jimmy who aren't actually aware of this. Let's take a look. Oh, the featured show is Jimmy. Oh, look, it's Jimmy. The last episode streamed. Non Sequitur and Mr. Atheist take your calls. Oh, gee, I wonder who's on this. Streamed. When was this streamed?
To be live on your channel.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like Jimmy. Does that sound like Jimmy to you guys? That sounded like Jimmy to me.
Come on.
Oh.
Come on. Get going. What are you doing?
Oh.
Who knew? Never heard of that.
I don't even know if I'm live or not. Okay. It says preview. Oh.
With her, I think.
Okay. I think with this, the first thing you have to find out is where.
Huh. I'm not involved, says Jimmy. Shame I don't see a date on this. Kind of odd I don't see a date on this, to be honest. Usually, ooh, that downvote tick though. Oh, you guys. Oh, sorry. There you go. That might be better. Ta-da! Would you look at that? Kyle and dear Mr. Atheist streaming together on the Non-Sequitur Show. Best friends forever. That's awkward. Ooh, that face. Well, regarding non-sec, I have not universally stated. The thing is like when you behave in a certain way, it is indicative of things. So you could say, oh, I never said I was going to steal something, but you've stolen something. And it's like, or you walk over and you take something from somebody. Well, I never said I was going to steal it from them. That's not even the only one. That's not even the only show. Oh, look.
All right. If yours is a stream now, they probably can already hear us.
Being mean or not accepting to others who are different than us.
What an advocate. So, I think I recall once upon a time one of the arguments that Jimmy had made was that, well, I streamed on my channel and Kyle streamed on his channel, so I didn't actually stream to the Non-Sequitur Show. Bitch, you've got Kyle plastered all over your channel and the Non-Sequitur Show plastered all over your channel via Kyle's background. Big brain. Deleting comments. Any more? Oh man, you mean, right, Sunday Fun Day with Kyle and Jimmy Snow.
Well, yeah, we normally do.
We'll do it live. I said we'll do it live. Fuck it.
Yes, Bill.
Oh no. That's... Oh, I'm not involved. Oh no, right before Non-Sequitur Reloaded, Sunday Fun Day with Non-Sequitur and Mr. Atheist. Oh.
Yeah, and families are being split apart.
Families are being split apart, guys.
It's a number that's just...
Oh, modern day atheist religious. Right before setting the record straight. Modern day atheism. Streamed 2 years ago.
Yours a stream now?
Yeah.
Things. And people, feel free. Yes, this is kind of marketing. If you have good examples that you want to throw in the super chats, we'll read them out. Obviously, basically, this is reminding you we'll read all the super chats at the end of the show. But in starting this conversation about cringy things,
ooh, Kyle's face. Talk about cringy things.
Not as a specific example.
Oh man, so Resurrection. Pride show featuring Mr. Atheist. I'm not gonna go through every single one of these, but like this is well into what had gone on with the Non-Sequitur Show. And here Jimmy is trying to be like, no, I never said I was involved in this. What do you even mean? So, I'm not sure a show featuring Kyle and answering questions via voicemails is unrelated. That seems like an open call to be able to ask some of those difficult things. Maybe just some mixed signals to some people. I tried to be nice. First, I frequently do voicemail shows. Yes. Second, the only guideline I did say was I'm not answering questions about pending legal battles, so I wasn't vague about what was acceptable. I said, I understand kind of seems like you're setting yourself up for the criticism. The non-sec logo was plastered all over the background, and it was streamed on that channel. Kinda shooting yourself in the foot and blaming others for asking questions seems bizarre to me, but what the fuck do I know? Yes, given the publicly available evidence, when you collaborate with Kyle at this point, many will assume that you have at least as much information, and that leads to some questions about ethics. Doesn't excuse abusive behavior on their part, of course. Yes, people ought not to be abusing Jimmy. Don't abuse Jimmy. Don't harass Jimmy. Leave Jimmy alone. However, yes, he went on a blocking spree. He set himself up to be able to block everybody with an excuse that didn't agree with him. Red's rhetoric, the ethics of Dear Mr. Atheist are indeed questionable in my honest opinion, and I would definitely love some clarification. For example, does he support theft? If so, under what circumstances? Curious to see if he's giving Kyle a free pass just because it's Kyle. So Reds wasn't actually going... Reds got blocked immediately, by the way, but he also did not ask about any pending legal case. So you could easily ask questions about it without actually asking questions about it, if you know what I mean. He most definitely is giving Kyle a free pass just because it is Kyle. GE, Katie, and even Shannon, to an extent, are all giving Kyle a free pass. Theft and lies apparently only matter if it's someone they don't know. If it's a friend, then it's okay. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I agree that it is probably the fact that he considers Kyle a friend that is responsible for his ethical inconsistency. But at least for Mr. Atheist and Shannon, I trust they will accept what the court decides and act accordingly and ethically. I wonder what that looks like. The ethical implications are unrelated to what a court decides. If someone is waiting for a court decision, then it seems to be an excuse. You can decide whether or not Kyle or Steve are in the right or wrong about non-sequitur show, regardless of what happens in court. If, for some reason, lightning struck and God came down and said, "Fuck you, Steve, Kyle can do this," I would still think that ethically, Kyle is in the wrong. Jimmy says, that isn't entirely true. There are multiple reasons why a party would want to wait to communicate their feelings on an ongoing legal battle until it is concluded. My ethics are being questioned for silence. In other words, people are questioning a position they don't know. That's why they're questioning it, Jimmy, because they don't know your opinion, and you're silencing anybody who asks your opinion. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I feel like this sounds really familiar. This is from 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This happened. This isn't recent. This isn't the new Gabby Hanna stuff. This is from 2 years ago. Just to be clear. I know my opening has been kind of messy, and it seems like I'm kind of going a little bit all over the... Thanks for making my point with a physical gag. My glasses are clearly on my side. I know I'm going a little bit all over the place with this, but this is a really, really hard topic to try and jump into, and I'm doing my best, sir. This was 2 years ago. The court battle has long since been lost by Kyle. He lost when he didn't show up to court in 2019, around September. He's been struggling ever since to try and hold on for no fucking reason outside of straight up being vindictive towards Steve. And Jimmy has yet to say or do anything, considering he said he was waiting for a legal battle. So he says he's waiting. I guess now is the time to ask. My response, because of course I responded, yes, they are asking because they don't know, and you are blocking them for asking what you've said would be expected. It's reasonable to ask these things. His response, you and I have been able to talk openly and honestly in the past. It bums me out you're using such dishonest characterizations for the sake of narrative driving. This concludes what I have to say on the matter. care to demonstrate that, I'm not sure what narrative or dishonest characterization I'm employing. This is the same tactic that Jimmy has used then and is using now. Well, one second, Puck needs something. He's important. Okay, he's back. He's good. Right, buddy? Yeah, he's fine. Okay. So, the reason I'm showing you a lot of this stuff from 2 years ago is to demonstrate that there is a pattern of behavior. Anybody who's been following Jimmy and following the nonsense that's been going on with him and Gabby Hanna and Rachel Oates will recognize this same thing. Accusing people of narratives, accusing people of mischaracterization or manipulation or misrepresenting, yada yada yada, it's the same thing. But he sets himself up for this. When people disagree with him, he fucking goes running immediately and jumps to excuses, and then also jumps to accusations that he then blocks people with the justification that I said I was done talking about this. People aren't going to force me to talk about this thing that I'm talking about. Nobody forced Jimmy to do anything. Jimmy chose to go onto a channel that had pending legal battles and then refused to answer questions by people asking him about why he's showing up on a channel that has been stolen by his friend. It's very unfortunate for people who got to know Jimmy after the fact and that he managed to cover up and whitewash this behavior because he was running around deleting comments and hiding comments and anything related to the Non Sequitur show he was going and deleting. Any criticisms about it, any comments about it, any questions about it, even any resources about it. I went out of my way, I made a playlist, I posted it for Jimmy's, to help him out, to say, hey, listen, if you don't want to talk about it, that's, you know what, I'm not going to force it on you. I'm not going to force you to talk about this, but here is, well, not but, and here is a playlist of the situation for people who want to know, so that way you don't have to address it. You can just be like, you know what, I'm not making a public opinion about it yet. Here is a playlist that you can watch to come to your own conclusion. But that might be the honest thing to... Puck, are you hungry? Your timing is impeccable. Sean reasonably asks, will you put out a video about why you supported Kyle over Steve and explain how you got that wrong as the evidence doesn't look good, dude, especially after the no-show and all. This was after Kyle didn't show up to court. Response, it's obvious that Kyle lied about Puddle says, it's obvious that Kyle lied about having a lawyer from day one. We know Kyle lied to Katie Joy as she threw Kyle under a bus. Do you feel very foolish for supporting Kyle in an issue where from the get-go he was obviously wrong? Are you now going to apologize to Steve? Are you going to apologize to Steve now? I don't know why people think bringing this up a million times on unrelated shit is going to get me to make some big statement. It isn't going to happen. No statements and no apologies are incoming. So the funny thing is he said the exact same thing about the Gabby Hanna Rachel situation, and he ended up addressing it. And the reason he ended up addressing it was because enough people talked about it and did what these people are doing, asked questions. And it started to affect his numbers. But I guess he wasn't big enough at the time when he did this and had enough backing from groups like the ACA to support him through being a shithead about somebody from their own group stealing a channel that they all decided they were gonna side with. It's a good look. But, that being the case, he blocked everybody, shut it all down. But it's kind of odd that he said he was going to make a statement when there was still, there was still ongoing litigation, and when the default judgment came out, people started asking because there was no further litigation that was supposed to happen yet until Kyle decided he wanted to try and fight the default judgment, but nobody knew that because people can't see the future. People thought the litigation was over. People then went to Jimmy asking for his statement, which he said he would give. So people patiently waited those couple of months and then asked him, and he got mad about it and started deleting people because it makes him look bad. You know. How about Steve over non-sec show since Kyle didn't show up for court? I don't know why people blah blah blah. Even Unirock! Well, at least we have this as a response and can now show the entire community. You ain't fucking wrong. Not here, at least. This is from October 2nd, 2019, by the way. That's what this date is. FTFE. I'd just like you know, do you admit Kyle was wrong, ? I think he means I'd just like to know instead of you know. I just like to know. Do you admit Kyle was wrong? Puddle responded, perhaps because you have made yourself look like a fool over this issue, have shown absolutely no critical thinking skills, and have failed at being a skeptic. It's not a good look for someone that advocates for such things, but bury your head in the sand if that's what suits. Dude, I gotta tell you, you are nobody to me, and I genuinely don't give a shit about what you think about me. Have a great life. Doubt you will, but do try. I guess I hit a nerve. Are you always this easily triggered? Toodles. You really see what you wanna see, don't you there, Puddle? So what Mr. Manbun is saying is, quote, it's not my fault for not doing basic due diligence, ensuring people don't get ripped off by a con man that I fully supported. I don't care if I helped Kyle rip you off, end quote. If you can sleep at night knowing you are a complicit asshole, more power to you. Can I be clear again? This is from October 2nd, 2019. This is Jimmy Snow on October 2nd, 2019. Why are people asking me for a statement on an issue I said I wasn't going to make a statement on until the thing happened, and now that the thing's happened, people are asking me. How dare they? Monsters! This is going to be my only statement on the matter. I was betrayed by and wrong about Kyle. This sucks, and to be honest, I'm devastated by the loss of one of my best friends. Oh, I lost one of my best friends because he's a lying fucking douchebag con man. But fuck all of you. Oh yeah, this one, I got blocked. Well, a lot of people got blocked, but you know. So what you're saying is that you were both in the wrong, but refused to apologize to Steve because other people publicly disagree with you. Well, I know a block is coming because disagreement is block-worthy, apparently, so let me just say this, G-Man 1. This is in response to Godless Engineer and Caitlin's Chloe's response that came out at the same time to match with Jimmy's. Another person who got blocked because you claim to be a person with upstanding morals and ethics, as well as someone who is honest to a fault. Is it that hard for you to admit fault and simply say sorry you were at fault, Jimmy? October 3rd, 2019. And we are still friends with Kyle, and the way Rachel is still friends with Steven. We think our friends made some mistakes, ones we were not involved in. Not involved in? Not involved in? Kyle and Caitlin discuss a major announcement and read mean comments. Huh. Not involved in. Godless engineer on the not involved in. That godless engineer on original sin. Godless engineer condones did God really condone slavery in the Bible? Caitlin Chloe unsolved the Susan Powell story. Conversation about, well, who's in this one? Who's here?
Professor James Gates.
It's just Kyle and random person? I don't even know who that is.
Would it be?
Oh, there's Godless Engineer. Oh, he was in the first half, not the second half. Let's set the record straight. Suicide or murder? Who's in this? Holy shit! Katie Joy Paulson? You mean Jimmy Snow and Katie Joy and Caitlin Chloe and Godless Engineer and Kyle were all fucking people who worked on a show together that all fucked over Steve? And Boole? What? Not involved? What? There's Jimmy. What? Oh, there's Shannon. Whoa. Not involved? My fucking ass. Oh, so for anybody who's surprised, yeah, Jimmy Snow used to be on the same channel as Katie Joy Paulson, and both of them supported Kyle when he stole Steve's channel from him. So you want to figure out that Gordian knot of assholes that all know each other. I mean, I could go for it. Golden Unicorn for 2 said, Chesh, why are you talking facts now? That's unfair. I guess I should finish reading her tweet, shouldn't I? We told them and encouraged them to work to correct them. Are you still friends with Kyle? I think that's a fair question. Jimmy, are you still friends with Kyle? Do you still talk to Kyle in the background? Do any of you talk to Kyle in the background? Are you still friends with him? This tweet's from the 8th of September of 2019. I did see her last October. I did see last... Gob, I can see you. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm getting annoyed that my side chat's not playing, though. That makes me sad. I might have to fix that. Hold on a second. Chat box. Let me just widget it real quick, and that should fix it. That should reset it. Hold on. Please hold. Good. Hey! There you go. Golden Unicorn says, presenting facts and evidence of your claims against someone is harassment, Chesh. No, well, shit. Whoops. The audacity. Lady Skeptic, what about apologizing to all those who used to be your fans but you've blocked because they expect you to be an honest person but you've done nothing but wish bad life unto them? Who the fuck does that to people that got them where they are? And I'm blocked. Wow, to think just because someone calls themselves a skeptic doesn't mean they're not assholes. Blocked by Jimmy Snow. Those of you who are only experiencing this Jimmy Snow behavior now, I welcome you to, oh god, what is even the date on this? Oh, lucky me. So I've actually got the screenshot of when I screenshotted it and when I had downloaded it and stuff. That's October 4th, 2019. I think I might be able to show you. October 4th. That's a big oof. But yeah, that's how that goes. Isn't that lovely? I hope you guys like that. I do have Jimmy's apology at one point if you guys did want to see it. But I also want to show you some of Jimmy's common behaviors, at least the ones that I've experienced, just so you guys know. I'm not going to show you all of my conversation with Jimmy, because private conversation with Jimmy, because most of it's not important. But I did screenshot a couple. As you can see, this is 2019. This is that December? The 6th of December, 2019. We were trying to talk on some other platform and he wanted to talk on Facebook, so we moved over to Facebook. We did it. I wasn't sure which one was you. I'm joking, because obviously I wonder which one is him. Wow, weird. I wonder if he gets more requests now. I hope so. I have thousands ignored. Oh, feels bad, man. Sometimes I go through and add anyone with 30 or more commons. Commons meaning common friends that they have in common. I bring this up to point out that, dude, he always cares about numbers. There is no new thing that, oh, well, now that he's big, he has to consider his numbers. He's always considered numbers. That's always been the case. This one is 06/12/2019. I'm going to suggest that you say something to Steve that I'm about to say to Kyle. Oh, what's up? Apropos of nothing, by the way, this is just randomly there's another conversation about this. I'm going to suggest that you say something to Steve that I'm about to say to Kyle. No, what's up? Right now, there are allegations and suspicions of fraud going from and to both sides. Oh, really? None of us thought fraud or said anything about Kyle's fraud until we knew he committed fraud, so I don't know what the both sides bit is, but okay, theft is a thing. It's not theft and fraud are not the same thing in this context, but okay. It is time to get way the fuck away from social media, and this is the time for lawyers. Oh. That is my advice for Kyle, and even though I don't particularly like Steve, yeah, we know you tried to call him a transphobe for admitting that he has difficulty writing they and them sometimes because he's old and that's not how his grammar is taught, so he was asking for a little bit of sympathy, empathy, and understanding. If he messes that up, he apologizes and is trying to improve, but you took his admission at having difficulty with that as an excuse, and you manipulated it to try and paint him as a transphobe to all your followers at the time. That happened. You fuck. Anyway. Though I don't particularly like Steve, I don't hate him. And this is no longer something that can be handled by the court of public opinion. Not a bad idea, I can definitely mention it. Yeah, Steve had always intended on getting a lawyer. As soon as Kyle said, "So sue me," Steve was already like, yeah, okay. This is... I hope he listens, because if only one party does that, they're gonna have a tremendous upper hand. We'll see. Well, that's awkward. I'm going to suggest to Kyle that he get a lawyer, and I hope he listens, because if only one party gets the lawyer, they're gonna have a tremendous upper hand. Were you worried, Jimmy, that Kyle was not going to get a lawyer? Were you concerned? There's so much to break down. I don't even know where to go. Releasing wars are not going to be good for a lot of people, Reds especially. This is referring to, I cut the context a little bit for space, but this was basically about the Death of the Non-Sequitur show video getting released. Yeah, it's only about the receipts about what Kyle had said directly, you know, like, so sue me. I like you, I genuinely do. I wish I could express to you eloquently why I wish you would get away from this. Hi! Hello! I'm still here, and your boy Kyle's got an arrest warrant out. Do you wanna, maybe have a comment about this shit now, 2 years later? 'Cause you said you were gonna wait, and maybe you've waited long enough, and no? Okay. Sure. It's all about the memes now. I'm only coming on when asked. So at the time, this was, I don't get the date for this one, but this was about this was before the release of the Death of the Non-Sequitur show, but after the hangout that we had where Shannon lost her mind, and that's right after that Death of the Non-Sequitur show happened, but before it was released. So this was when I started the meme train about why would Steve do this? Kyle shooting the Non Sequitur show. I'm not a creator at this point, really. I'm just around. I kind of came out of left field, so you can kind of see how Jimmy is trying to get me on his side and trying to get me to tell things to Steve, and we're Reds apparently, and yada yada yada. His comments are manipulative. He's trying to paint something in a way that it's not. Well, people better not release things, it's gonna look bad. Yeah, for Kyle, your friend. Maybe you should tell your friend to give the show back. The show that you're fucking on? What do you want me to do? You're the one on the fucking channel with him.
I was raised in a very strict...
Asshole. Mostly you are at a peaking friendship with Steve. I think in a few months you'll wish I was better at expressing why too. So I can blame you for it later then? Damn it, Jimmy. You could have saved me from Steve. Why didn't you save me, Jimmy? I can see how this could be really, really problematic if he was, or why this would be really, really effective if he wasn't talking to me. But he was talking to me, and he didn't know anything about me, so he's the poor boy, he tried so hard. Res for 100. Hi, Res. Thanks, man. You know nothing, Jimmy Snow. Correct. So I posted this one because I thought it was really interesting, and the only reason this is even showing as much as it is was because I wanted to make a point, because Jimmy in some of the stuff we're going to cover of the newer stuff has a lot of, because of these reasons I approach conversations in this way, yada yada yada. No, he does this all the time. This is the way he approaches conversations in general. Right? This is just kind of the thing he does. Look at the way this conversation starts. 06/18/2019. Man, I'm not really that picky. I tend to drop a heart on Twitter. on stuff I disagree with when it suits me. He is complaining that I liked a tweet that said something positive about Eric and negative about him, and I liked the tweet because you only have one option, so I just liked the tweet. And he's like, what do you think a heart means on Twitter? And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Who gives a shit, goddamn, dude. But then 0722, this is over a month later, he sends me a message, what the fuck is this thing you're in? Godless Girl just called a bunch of people a slur. Oh, I don't have it showing. Sorry, here you go. Blet. There you go, sorry, I didn't have it showing. 072219, what the fuck is this thing you're in? Godless Girl just called a bunch of people slurs after trying to say my pumpkin thing was homophobic. What? Like, what? I don't, you literally just came in here saying, what the fuck is this thing you're in, not telling me what you're talking about, not giving me any kind of context, and saying what somebody else said in this thing. Literally called it a thing. A video, a stream, a, I don't know, thread? What thing? If you've been following the Gabby Hanna Rachel Oates situation, you'll notice that one of the things people have complained about is that how the flying fuck was Rachel supposed to know what the hell you were talking about? And he's used excuses like, well, I've been friends with Rachel so long she should know that that's how I talk. Dude, you didn't know me for very long. We don't have a whole lot of messages. And you started the conversation with, what the fuck is this thing you're in? If it wasn't me, and there was a different context, I can definitely see how these kinds of things would blow out of proportion and be really confusing for people. This is not a one-off time of Jimmy Snow. This is the way this is the regular, what the fuck is this thing you're in? Yeah, I eventually was able to figure out, yeah, a while back. When? What does that mean? She attacked people for having pumpkins in their names. I mean, I thought the pumpkin thing was stupid, but I never said anything about it, because whatever, do your thing. I don't get involved in everything every single time. But it's like, how am I supposed to figure out what the hell he's talking about? And then he keeps going without telling me what the hell he's talking. Just send a link, bro. I could have answered your question immediately if you told me what the hell you were talking about. Dude. Alright. That's all the screenshots I have for the conversations that I thought I had were relevant. I had a couple more conversations with the guy. I had one that was... I didn't record it, which is really too bad. I actually joked about recording it when we had that conversation. It was a Zoom call that we had where he was talking to me. There's a couple things that stick out to me, but I'm not going to bring them up here. I can talk about them another time because I want to stick with stuff that I can actually easily demonstrate, and I don't want to muddy the water with, well, should you trust me? You don't know who I am, so maybe not. But it might comport with some of the other stuff that's gone on. Maybe I'll send it to the subreddit or something. But let's take a look. I have a couple of things. I'm just going to refresh these both real quick so that way we get the cycle to go the hell away. Hopefully it just doesn't start playing. Yeah. This says I was wrong and I messed up, and indicative of some kind of apology, but don't get your hopes up. We are dealing with Jimmy here. And he hates this. Oh, the poor man. I'm gonna let the first couple of minutes of Jimmy talking play in the second video. I'm not gonna bring up the first video too much. I did make a couple of notes on it, just that there were few things that he said. I mean, there's a bunch of things, and maybe at some point I'll do a video, like if I was going to, I don't know if I'm gonna do this. If I was going to, I'd have to take maybe like 10 minutes of his video at a time and do a breakdown, and I'd have to do like a whole prologue of explaining the situation before I even start. It'd be a whole series. But I am gonna jump around, and I'll play a couple of the things. So let's go to 2230. Here we go.
Gabby and I talk all the time. We have talked twice since the beginning of the year. Again, these are refutations of something no one has challenged. So I write, like I said, she didn't ask me to say something. I don't know why she sent it. Maybe she thought she'd improved. I don't know. And that was a genuine mystery to me. And I don't remember what Gabby said when I asked her, because I think I said at some point, like, why did you send it? And I want to say she did it as a show of good faith, that she was trying to do, like, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But I honestly was like, that was a stupid move to me. Like, I never thought that was a good move. Anyway, and this makes it sound like Gabby and I talk all the time. We have talked twice since the beginning of the year. I went and looked. It's literally been twice in the last 6.5 months. Anyway, she writes, I write, just pass along what I observed. Then what happened is, I don't know if this is archived on Twitter, how easy it is to get to. I'm not worried about people going and seeing it. But you'll see in my message, I reference it. Rachel starts tweeting about our message. Our conversation doesn't continue. I say something, and instead of replying to me and talking to me, her friend, who not only has been her support system, I literally cared about this girl so much that I put my reputation on the line to go and attack this creator. I did this 4-part series, not attack the creator, that's the wrong thing, but this creator was being awful to her.
For those of you who are unaware, he's starting to talk about essence of thought. But he can't be specific about what he's talking about, because if he's specific about what he's talking about, you might go and look about what happened with Essence of Thought, and that might lead you to find out what happened with the non-sequitur show. And he wouldn't want you to know about that now, would he? So, there's something I want to point out here, because he brings it up in the next video a little bit. And he talks about how the word friend isn't a very good word because it doesn't explain, it's too broad of a term. What about people who aren't as friendly as my other friends? He's calling Gabby Hanna a friend, while also saying he only talked to her 2 times in the past year, and then he goes on to explain that he's really good friends with Rachel and has been really good friends with Rachel for a long time. And then in the next video he goes to say that actually, Rachel and I had started drifting apart. And it's like, dude, either learn some new words and extend your vocabulary, or stop being a convenient friend. I'm friends with you when it's convenient for me, or it's convenient for me to call you a friend, so I call you a friend. And when it's convenient for me to say, well, actually, we've only really talked to each other twice in a year, then I'm gonna say that instead. Anyway, I wanted to point that out. He also says that, whatever, I'm not even gonna bother playing it. He also says something about, because I'm gonna jump ahead again. He says something along the lines of that Rachel betrayed him by showing screenshots of their conversation. Yeah, Rachel only showed her side of the conversation. She was asking an outside force for clarification, and she was basically asking, am I the asshole for saying something like this? He's trying to demonize her as a friend for, posting an Am I the Asshole, but a live one on Twitter. It's kind of hilarious, but whatever. I'm just gonna jump ahead real quick because we got the gist of that pretty quick. 26:30. Let's go!
Seems really uncharacteristic of me. That should be your first suspicion that maybe things didn't happen the way it happened.
I hate this is one of the reasons why I actually brought up all of the stuff from 2 years ago. This isn't uncharacteristic of Jimmy. This is actually very much characteristic of Jimmy.
Anyway, so I wrote back, she's a person who basically receives nonstop hatred all the time for a litany of things, many totally undeserved. Only many. There are some things that Gabby's done that are really cringy, that are really shitty. I don't like everything Gabby's done. Doesn't stop me from being friends with someone. Maybe
I take an issue with this. I take an issue with this because he's specifically being vague on purpose. There's a lot of reasons why people don't like Gabby Hanna. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to Gabby Hanna. There's differences between being friendly and on decent terms with somebody and being their friend, which is why I said that Jimmy is manipulating the word friend. And also maybe needs a larger vocabulary so that way he can learn words more. I don't buy it. Now, buy it? I don't buy it. You're being vague on purpose about why people don't like Gabby Hanna so you can justify your white knighting. Be specific. What about Gabby Hanna do you not agree with? What has she done? What did she do that you don't agree with? Because the thing is, she's a fucking rape apologist. Do you not agree with her rape apologetics, Jimmy? It doesn't mean you have to treat her poorly. Nobody said harass her. Nobody said be a dick to her. Nobody said don't be friendly with her. But you're being vague on purpose, dude. She verbally berated the fuck out of your friend for a long time, Rachel Oates, who you know, and as you have said, has been through a lot of shit, particularly with Essence of Thought. And yet, Gabby Senpai, your numbers are so big. They're so big. I don't agree with everything my friends do. You mean like Kyle? Because it seemed like you agreed with Kyle having control over the show. Or is that something that Kyle did that you don't agree with now? Are you still friends with Kyle? Are you still friends with Katie? Are you still I don't know. What do I know? There's a jump at the 30-minute mark here. I think I'm gonna skip it though. He complains about people making shitty quips about other people and complains about, oh, Rachel cries because she's emotional. Jimmy almost cries in this video and then almost cries in the video we're about to watch while simultaneously saying he's somebody who doesn't really cry. I do like the 42-minute mark though, so I'm going to show you this clip just because I mostly think it's funny. By the way, please go watch these on your own at some point. Because this is just me getting to the meat of... I'm still not even at the meat of what's gone
on. And you can kind of tell that that happened because I was able to send messages after her last message.
He doesn't understand
but maybe
how
there was a
blocking
brief period
works
that
or the platform works.
At first when she said that, I was like, you liar! I blocked you! But I'm realizing there's probably a way in which she blocked me and then unblocked me shortly thereafter. And this happened and I just never noticed the block.
Yeah, you didn't notice a block. You can tell from the little check mark at the sides that all these messages that he sent were never seen. He doesn't know how the platform works.
Very, very well could happen, so I'm not ready to call her a liar for that. But what happens after these messages, and I think I already said it, but actually this is the one after it happens, is she starts to drunk tweet. And I assume those tweets are still out there too and can be checked. But we have this sort of back and forth where she's asking to Twitter, but directly to me, what I want of her. And she's identified...
No. She wasn't asking to Twitter, but directly to you. If she was, she would have tagged you. And she wouldn't have blocked you. What she did was she asked other people to confirm that she wasn't crazy, that what you were doing was kind of bullshit. And she got a response saying, yeah, no, it seems like Jimmy's kind of full of shit, except nobody said that because she didn't say it was about you. You said it was about you. So, on the plus side, at least Jimmy's consistent. But yeah, she wasn't tweeting at you. She wasn't continuing the conversation with you on Twitter. She blocked you. and then was having the conversation about what had happened with other people, which people are allowed to do. And she was kind enough not to tag you or out that it was you, when, as you agreed, if people do something shitty to you, or people do something shitty in general, that ought to be shown, even if it is in DMs. So if he's okay with something shitty being done to you in DMs being shown, and Rachel thinks you did something shitty to her in DMs and she shows it, you think it's a betrayal of trust, even though you said it was okay, and she was kind enough to even not show that it was you. Are you all confused yet? I hope you're all confused.
She's drunk, and I'm saying things like, you're drunk. Listen, I'm already really good at arguing. Fully sober, I can be in the wrong, and I'm going to beat 90% of people in an argument.
Does that include Rachel? Because Rachel actually makes pretty lucid points most of the time. I'm not friends with Rachel, by the way. I don't dislike her. Not at all. She seems like the loveliest person, but I don't really know much about her. I used to watch a lot of her content a long time ago, but I haven't. I fell off of watching because I was been busy, really. Kind of once the Essence of Thought thing settled down and she decided she was taking a break, I pulled back for the most part. But I'm really good at arguing, which is why I get mad, throw tantrums, and block people when they ask me basic questions of clarification on Twitter. Pretty sure he ran from a debate from Red's Rhetoric too, but I don't know, you might have to ask Reds about that for more clarification or more details, because I vaguely remember that being a thing that happened. For somebody who's so good at arguing, maybe he could have given his buddy Kyle some tips, or maybe his buddy GE some tips about his lost debate with G-Man 2 years ago. Or is it he's only good at debating and arguing now? Is he only good at it now? Is this a recent development? Is he only good at debating recently and arguing recently? Because I don't think you're as good as you think you are. I think you're decent at manipulating people. I think you're decent at rhetoric. When people don't know it's coming. When people expect better from you. Actually, Dargish makes a really good point. He wouldn't be able to beat her in an argument. He wouldn't watch her stuff anyway. Yeah, if you wanted to beat her in an argument, especially about her own content, you might have to watch her content. That's a really good point. Oh, God. That's a very good point. He makes some point about having a flair for the theatric, as if that doesn't completely undermine his whole spiel, that he's not just being a little bit dramatic. But hey, you know, what do I know? But I want to get this clip at the end because I think it's really important. So I'm just going to play this real quick for a minute.
Hot seat. I'm not anymore. You just saw my receipts. This can't be the best we've got, right? I'm going to still feel bad for things that happened to Trisha, and Trisha isn't my friend. And Trisha, nonsense. And I don't know how she's going to take that. Again, I don't want anyone to go after her. If she wants to finally have that private conversation, she has my phone number. So when she mentions the blocked everywhere, you can still text me. And you were never blocked there.
Actually, Rachel clarified to say that she didn't actually have his number for some reason. Like, there was a reason behind it, but why would she want to fucking talk to you anyway? Dargish for 5 says maybe he thinks the block button is winning an argument. There are flurfers who think that way. There are people who don't know the flat earth version of philosophy, people who think that. There are trolls who just want to take people down who think that same way. So, I mean, it's in line. That lines up. I'd call that about the expectation line, yeah.
But I don't know. Just so much about this sucks. And so much of it sucks because, again, none of what I do right now is probably going to matter. There's still going to be this huge narrative driven and people aren't going to watch this video and they're not going to give a shit.
That's called poisoning the well. So if this doesn't go over well, he can just say, oh, well, people didn't really watch it, but what I said, it doesn't matter.
We're also going to continue choosing villains, and then sometimes those villains are going to play the role. I am still going to feel bad for things that happen to Gabby. I'm going to still feel bad for things that happen to Trisha, and Trisha isn't my friend.
Do you feel bad about all the shit that happened to Steve? Do you feel bad about all the shit that happened to Boole because of what your friend Kyle did? Do you feel bad about all the stuff that's happened to the non-sequitur show fans who had their money stolen? No? Okay.
And Trisha, like I said, even these people who definitely do shitty, sucky things, I feel bad for. I feel like all we're doing right now is this end of it. And, you know, the demands for an apology, regardless of whether or not you actually did it, demands for you to get involved, demands, because our eyes love to consume this and like this reality.
You inserted yourself. Jimmy and also, I guess, KC, if you look at the screenshots I was showing earlier, do not understand that you've inserted yourself. You decided to participate. You took a side. Your behavior is indicative of this. And when that is the case, when people ask you questions about that, when it does not coincide, he's complaining about people asking him, right? He's complaining about, oh, well, you didn't hear my side, and this is what actually happened, and people are lying about me. Dude, you blocked anybody who asked for clarification. That is people coming to you. That is people saying, hey, this behavior doesn't match up. Let me ask Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, are you going to address this? Hey, Jimmy, I have questions about this thing. Why are you making me talk about it? You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You either want people to come and talk to you, or you don't want people to come and talk to you. Don't pretend you want people to come and talk to you, and then as soon as anybody does, you block them for trying to make you talk about something you said you didn't want to talk about. Double speak.
Show stuff. We just love it. It's what drives us. And I think it is so toxic and so shitty. And now I get to say this on the other side of showing you that the things being said about me aren't true. So I feel like, because there's a lot of people where if I put this at the beginning, they're like, yeah, of course he doesn't like that. He's in the hot seat. I'm not anymore. You just saw my receipts.
Those did not help you at all.
This can't be the best we've got, right? This can't be as good as we get, right? It to me, I remember
Jimmy, you've been like this for 2 years. What do you mean? You tell me. Apparently you've suddenly gotten good at argumentation. Please, by all means. You're welcome to come on and talk to me. I'm happy with that if that's what you want. We can discuss this if it'll make you feel better.
mentioning it on the show the other day. I no longer, since starting YouTube, wonder how coliseums could be filled to watch people put to death. How, like, punishment.
He's comparing himself to a gladiator being put to death in the Roman Colosseum because People thought he was an asshole about one thing one time. Oh my god, dude. A flair for the dramatic, you say?
Rituals were spectator sports because I've seen a version of it. And I am as not liberal. As
You mean what you
leftist.
did to Steve?
I won't say I'm as socialist as they come. There are many more people who are much more socialist than me. My whole channel is advocating for social justice. I am called a social justice warrior all the time. People think I'm a cancel culture vote. That's not the phrase that I want to cancel everybody when in reality.
No, maybe not everybody, but you certainly tried to cancel Steve on more than one occasion by actually participating in the theft of his actual channel. I don't know how much more of a cancel you can get than literally your friend stealing the platform, but okay.
I more want to have conversations. I'm accused of being social justice.
There it is.
I am called a social justice warrior all the time. People think I'm a cancel culture vote. That's not the phrase that I want to cancel everybody when in reality I more want to have conversations. I'm accused of being all of the things because there are going to be people like, wow, he really goes on an anti-SJW rant at the end who don't know about my other content. Literally, what I want to advocate for are the political and social causes that matter the most to me. And if you watch the Sometimes show, that's what I do every time. But you know what doesn't matter to me? This. As a drama event and a public spectator event. Of course, Gabby and Rachel both still matter to me. How they feel still matter to me. That they are okay.
What about what you did to Steve and Boole?
Okay still matters to me. Even though I feel mad, honestly, at mostly Rachel. Again, I don't even know what.
Yeah, because you don't know what Rachel said, and you don't know what Gabby said, because you said you didn't look at anything that anybody said, and you're mad, and you're taking it out on Rachel, because Rachel's the easier target and has less numbers.
Gabby said about me in the heat of the moment. People have said she said stuff. And as far as generally evaluating the actual event between the two of them, I haven't watched enough, though, as I've said already, the only things I know is that I believe Gabby has called her a bitch. I believe she's also used terms that are like clinical psychological terms, which I think people should be very reluctant
like a
to
narcissist.
And I don't think that Rachel's a narcissist. I think that was one of the words. I do think that Rachel's motivations for the reviews and all the Gabby Hanna content she has done was definitely views, but the motivations for lots of things I do are views.
So the context that Jimmy's leaving out here, probably because he doesn't know, because he is a shitty friend and doesn't care about anything else, as he just said he didn't actually know what had gone on between them. Gabby Hanna sent Rachel her book for Rachel to review. He has no idea why Rachel made that video. 'Cause he's an idiot. Jimmy doesn't know how to do basic research, I guess. Great at argumentation.
I don't regret telling somebody like, hey, the thing you're doing right now, I've seen it hurt my friend. And the way you're doing it actually does seem hurtful. Because if it was literally, I had seen something where it's like, Gabby, she just said she doesn't like your poetry. I don't like your poetry because I don't like any poetry. You just got to get past it. And you went to have parts of our private conversation on Twitter. And now it's literally like.
No, she went to ask other people's opinion about your conversation.
If Rachel and I ever talk again, I will literally start the conversation with, just to be clear, none of this conversation is going to be happening on social media in some way, correct? None of this is going to be, obviously there's always exceptions. If I did something heinously terrible, of course people should be, I'm not going to ask her to sign an NDA, but we be reasonable.
So be reasonable. If you think that somebody's wronged you, then it makes sense for her to show the DMs publicly, like I said earlier. Right? That's what he just said. So by his own expectation that he's currently setting now, Rachel would still be in the right for showing those messages, and she did him a favor by not saying who she was when she released them. But okay.
Again, me just anticipating stupid criticisms people are going to make because they're like, oh, I'm adding a bunch of context. This just
nice
sucks,
straw man, Jimmy.
Like, it just sucks. It's not good for anybody, this stuff. And I don't know. Something's probably going to happen. There's going to be something in the future. Gabby will say something somewhere, and then someone will be like, oh, after what you said in that, what about now, Jimmy? I know. All that's coming.
Be specific. What might she say, Jimmy?
In the future. And you know what? Fuck off. I'm going to do my show. I'm going to do my activism. And I'm going to try and be a good friend to my friends. And that is the only thing I did.
And fail.
Was trying to be a good friend to my friends. And if I did it wrong, it wasn't for lack of trying to do it the right way. And I will take correction on the right way to have done it, but not from a bunch of strangers on the internet. I'm going to talk to a therapist. Because a lot of people on the internet think that the stuff that they put in the comment section is that good.
Okay.
And I've actually already talked to my therapist a lot about this, especially when it happened. I have been in pretty intensive therapy for many years. Most people won't have made it this far. Most people would have just taken out the tidbits and whatever else. So this video will go out after I let some people screen it, and you'll see it. And
I didn't catch that the first time. He let some people screen this, and they said, go for it? Who told you to put this out? Because they are not your friend. They are a yes man, probably, at best. Were they on your payroll? Is that who you who did you show this to that said, yeah, put this out here. This is a great idea, bud. You got this. Sorry, the only reason I'm letting this play as long as I am is because I'm looking for something specific. He said something about being friends with Rachel again, and I want to catch it real quick.
I can honestly say at the end of it that I believe I kept my promise. Everything I've told you is either the truth or what I am very sure is the truth. There was definitely no misinformation purposely given. If somebody has something that I got wrong, you're welcome to point it out. And in the future, if something seems whack that you just can't believe I did it, maybe consider the idea that I didn't and ask.
Which is what people did. And you blocked them.
Ask for my side of the story, not because people were like, we did ask. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You demanded that I accept, acknowledge and accept and apologize for things I didn't do.
I'm sure some people did that, but people also asked you for clarification, and you blocked them. And just like you did 2 years ago during the non-sequitur show, and people asked you for clarification, and you've set them up and gave them a situation where they would be able to ask those questions, and you said, but don't ask any of those questions, though.
God, this all sucks. All of it. But now you have my side of the story, which none of you actually asked for. There's probably a few people who did. So if you did, thank you. And if you didn't, but still we're...
It sucks I didn't write this timestamp down, but he said at one point, maybe I'm sorry because I messed up with Rachel. He didn't be that specific, but he talks about how great Rachel was to him. And so I find it kind of bizarre that he says he wants to be friends with Rachel because of all the things that Rachel provided for him, not for her whatsoever. It's not a mutual thing. It's only a one-way thing with Jimmy, but I digress. There is a lot in here I want to talk about. There was just a couple bites I wanted to get in there. Actually, there's one more I did want to point out where he says something very specific. It's at 21 minutes. So I'm just going to play that really, really quick because I think it's quite important for what he says later, which is why I'm mostly basically, a lot of this has been showing you what he's been saying up until this point so we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper into his newest thing, because I think a lot of people have gone through dives of this way, way better, which is why I set this up way ahead of time so people could have time to digest and watch, and why I have the links that I do down below. But I'm going to show this real quick because I thought this was really, really important. Jimmy, what's your side of the story? Okay, here we go.
Right, that's absolute crap. I'm not going to be guilted into changing my opinion, which no one has asked her to do. Can you imagine if other authors sent a reviewer a book and said, but you should only publish the review if it's positive? Also never happened. If she doesn't want people critiquing her poetry, she should stop selling overpriced, awful poetry. Once again, so at this point, I still haven't seen any, to this day, I haven't seen her poetry reviews. I don't care about poetry, and there's no real reason for me. However, I have now just seen another example of her using what just seems like overly negative language. Might be totally true and might be completely right. However, that compared with the tweets that I've already seen, it seems to me like this picture in my head that was apparently wrong of what kind of review it would look like.
That's not even overly mean, especially for the internet. That's pretty mild. But especially in private versus in public. But I'm not going to dive too much into that, but I do want to say that this is absolutely absurd for Jimmy, who is, Jimmy, who behaved the way he did on Non-Sequitur Show, to the Non-Sequitur Show fans, to Steve, to Boole, to the Non-Sequitur Show audience while he was on the show, as well as after the fact, not to mention the way he talks about girl-defined Paul and Morgan and the transformed wife, because he doesn't like that they talk about purity culture, and he doesn't respect purity culture, and because he doesn't respect purity culture or the ideas surrounding it, he doesn't actually argue very well. He mostly just points fingers. But hey, I'm not saying that there isn't a space for that kind of content. There's always gonna, when you put your opinions out there, when you put your stuff out there, you're gonna get negative reviews and feedback, and that's okay. And not all of it has to be constructive. But if Jimmy's gonna put these weird lines on people on the internet and says that content can only be constructive, he may have some people he might need to talk to that are friends of his. Is he still friends with Kyle? Jimmy, are you still friends with Katie Joy? Okay.
It doesn't, at this point, nothing's telling me that picture in my head is wrong. And then she goes, she knows I review poetry, all poetry.
Unless you watched her content because you were her friend. Then maybe you would be more familiar with her content. I'm being a dick. I'm not getting to the point that I want to get to. Golden Unicorn for 10 said, then why did he assert himself in a situation which he did zero research, and now he is mad he came out looking like an asshole? Sounds like he has a bias for a friend and no charity for the other. Yes, that would be correct.
Not just hers, and she still sent me the book. She knew it was coming for months. And again, these are refutations.
This is refutations to what is being said, because Rachel just told Jimmy that Gabby sent her the book to review. And so even throughout later on in this video, he's saying, I don't understand why she's doing these reviews, or I'm saying she's doing these, or Rachel's doing these reviews of Gabby Hanna's books for views. You read it out loud that Gabby sent Rachel the book to review. You idiot. How do you fuck this up? You literally read Rachel telling you out loud that Gabby sent Rachel the book to review, and you're saying, I don't know why Rachel reviewed Gabby's book. I think it was probably for numbers, and that's okay, that makes sense. She sent her the book. You just said out loud she sent her the book. I can't. You can't. How do you do this? Who watched this? Who did you send? I really, really want to know now. Because I didn't catch that any of the times I had watched this before, that he had actually sent this to other people to look at and watch and approve before he posted it. I really, really want to know who it was now, because who watched this and thought Jimmy would look good? Oh no. I think you have a different friend to worry about there, bud.
Of something no one has challenged. So I write, like I said, she didn't ask me to say something. I don't know why she sent it. Maybe she thought she'd improved. I don't know. And that was a genuine mystery to me. And I don't remember what Gabby said when I asked her, because I think I said at some point, like, why did you send it? And I want to say she...
So at one point in the video, he says he doesn't understand what went on. Then he had a conversation, later on in the video, he had a conversation with Rachel, where Rachel said, Gabby sent me the book to review it, so I reviewed it. Then Jimmy says that he had a conversation with Gabby about why Gabby sent Rachel the book, but he doesn't remember what Gabby said in the 2 conversations that he's had with her that he recently just looked at to confirm was only 2 conversations, and then later says he doesn't know why Rachel is reviewing Gabby's book and that it must be for reviews. Do you see what I mean when I say that if I was actually going to do a breakdown of point by point, I would have to take like 10-minute segments and almost make like hour-long videos about each segment?
She did it as a show of good faith, that she was trying to do, like, but I don't remember.
Assuming the best of the
exactly
Gabby,
what it
I
was.
guess.
But I honestly was like, that was a stupid move to me. Like, I never thought that was a good move. Anyway, and this makes it sound like Gabby and I talk all the time. We have talked twice since the beginning of the year. I went and looked. It's literally been twice.
Somehow I missed
Videos
the
about her
part that I
poetry
wanted.
definitely hits her feelings, and that she's messed up in anticipation. And that's the most, that she's worried about that.
I can go back on
Again, myself reacting to the tweets I've seen, because I didn't realize the review was already out. And as Rachel just mentioned, I'm trying to remember how she put it, but that there seem to be miscommunications. The thing is that I've cleared up those miscommunications multiple times now, and she's still saying what she just said.
Jimmy, you haven't cleared up shit. As I just explained, you still don't understand, by the end of this video, even though you said it out loud, why Rachel was reviewing Gabby Hanna's book. Even though Rachel told you, even though you asked Gabby Hanna about it, even though you can't remember from the 2 conversations you've had with your friend that you just recently said you looked at. You still don't know, at the end of this video, why Rachel reviewed Gabby's book. And so you speculated that it was about for views because that's why you do things.
Which isn't actually true. Anyway, Sheree, that's absolute crap. I'm not going to be guilted into changing my opinion, which no one has asked her to do. Can you imagine if other authors sent a reviewer a book and said, but you should only publish the review if it's positive? Also never happened. If she doesn't want people critiquing her...
Damn it, where's the clip? I wrote down 21 minutes. It must be further back.
That she was making a review, it was that she was sick with anticipation. What was the exact phrase I used? Definitely experiences a severe negativity because of it. I know that the reactions people have to your videos about her poetry definitely hits her feelings, and that she's messed up in anticipation. And that's the most, that she's worried about that. Again, myself reacting to the tweets I've seen, because I didn't realize the review was already out. And as Rachel just mentioned, I'm trying to remember how she put it, but that there seem to be miscommunications. Oh my God, this is like not actual constructive criticism, but basically that she would say the same types of things in her tweets, that her tweet persona and her YouTube persona would be different. So Rachel says back to me, she sent me the book knowing I'd review it. I wasn't going to do a fake review, which I have no problem with her saying, because at no point have I said do a fake review or don't review the book. The problem is at 5 minutes, 30 seconds, I think it is, I'm just going to keep playing. She said this.
He felt a little bit manipulated because he said that Gabby had gone to him and was like really upset that I was going to be making another video about her book. And I was like, but she asked me to. Like, and I didn't understand it. And there was like a whole thing. And I think there was just like a misunderstanding and miscommunication on like lots of sides.
So the thing is, that isn't what I said. And I know people are like, yeah, but you could read into that. Rachel's known me longer than that. She didn't know I had autism back then, but people do know now. But she also knew me well enough to know I communicate directly. The words I say are all the words I need.
That's what I was looking for. Rachel didn't know I was autistic at the time. People know now. And because of this, the words I say are all the words that I need. So you're telling people to take the words that you're saying at face value, and then you're getting mad at people for taking the words that you say at face value. Jimmy, you said you were going to wait for litigation about non-sequitur show. Are you going to talk about it now? Are you going to make your thing clear? Because that's what you said. And I was told in this video that you ought to take the words you say at face value. And then those are all the words you need. If those are all the words you need, why are you complaining about nuance? If those are all the words you need, why are you complaining that people are asking for clarification? Or outside the fact that you say, you shouldn't be asking for clarification, you're exactly right, take my words at face value. Now you're complaining that people don't know the nuance that you didn't tell them, but your words are all you need. Alright, that's the last one I wanted. Sorry it took me a minute to find that, but let's move on so that way we can actually get through to what I think is the meat of this, but there's so much. I'm just gonna let the first couple of minutes of this play for you guys, just so you can hear what actually is said, because I think the first couple of minutes of this really sets the tone and is indicative to what's going on. And yeah, Jimmy has the best words. So I'm just gonna let this play for a moment while enjoy.
Hey everyone, so here it is, the video where I'm going to respond to a lot of the things being said about me right now. Let me preface this by saying I think I messed up a lot by doing everything improvised last time. So this time I wrote out my feelings. They are my own, but yeah, I'm gonna be using my teleprompter to make sure I don't go off on tangents or prove once again that, to be honest, turns out I can be a moron. Regarding the criticisms I've received, some of the things I actually do agree with. Took me a while to get there, but yeah, I'm there. I believe there are things I did wrong, but there are also narratives about me being pushed out there that aren't just wrong, they are really, really hurtful. So I just want to ask you this. If you are one of the people who has been so mad and really wanting me to admit to times I was wrong, you're going to get to see some of that. But I also want you to be open to the idea that you might have been wrong about some things too, as you watch. As everything goes, there is always context and nuance that you can't know, and I hope that you'll hear me out. The first thing I want to share is going to be very vulnerable, and I know that there are going to be some video responses, I'm sure, made to me that are saying I'm being manipulative by starting here. I don't think...
I'm not talking to Jimmy, just to be clear. I'm not making things directed to Jimmy at all. The only question or thing that I'm asking Jimmy is twofold. Are you still friends with Kyle and Katie Joy? And not by your version of friends. I mean like regular persons, or I don't want to say regular because I know I don't want to be ableist. The average definition, I mean, are like the normative definition of friendship, or like, oh, you talk 2 times in a year kind of friendship. I just want to know a little bit of the details of if you were actually still friends with them. And the other one is, hey, now that a lot of the litigation is over, your best buddy Kyle has an arrest warrant. Are you now going to address the non-sequitur show stuff, and are you going to apologize for all of that stuff too from 2 years ago? Or, I mean, you're here addressing something from a year ago. I mean, it's a ripe time to discuss things from 2 years ago. But yeah, no, I just want to be clear. I'm not talking to Jimmy. If Jimmy wants to talk to me, different situation. He's welcome to come and talk to me if he wants. I don't have him blocked, so that's fine. If that's what he wants. But I'm not talking to him directly right now.
I think that's true it is what feels like the most absolutely pressing thing to start with, what's going on in my life. So I need to start right here with an admission. I am not as strong a person as I thought I was. I thought I had a super hard exterior and interior, and that when I'm right, all I need is to be right, and then anything else won't be able to hurt me.
And when I'm right, or when I'm wrong, I just assert that I'm right and block anybody who says otherwise. Problem solved. La 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 la.
It turns out is not the case. While I have tried to put on a mostly strong face, this has been the darkest time in my life in years. I have retreated into behaviors that are harmful, and I am desperate to get back to some level of normalcy and to be able to focus on the things that matter the most to me. The thing is that it is a constant negativity, anger, but yes, in some cases, and even many cases, just people expressing that the nicest form would be like, I'm not who they thought I was. And that turns out hurts a lot to hear.
It hurts that people find out that I behaved the same way a year ago, and now that I behaved 2 years ago. That's rough, buddy. That's rough. Sucks when you're when you put yourself in a bad situation like this. Called digging yourself a hole.
So to the point that I've considered quitting a few times, but I don't actually know what else I would do at this point. And I definitely can't turn my back on my business and my staff. So I'm going to try to tell you and respond to as much as I can here. And when
and my staff. I'm going to rope them into this. I don't know if those people are named anywhere. I wonder if they're the ones who watched the last video and told him, yeah, good, go, put that out. I'd be curious.
When I'm done, I need to be done with this for a while. And I'm really hoping by covering enough, I can be. It honestly doesn't feel like hyperbole right now to tell you that this is killing me. Because the dark places I've gone, very, very dark places. All I honestly want is to help people and make people's lives better, and I've been failing to do that lately. But also lately, people have come for every aspect of my life except for my dog, and now that I've mentioned it, Dexter might be next. So if when you hear me out, you still think I'm awful, then I will be sad to see you go, but I'm going to put everything on the table. I'm going to be honest, and I hope for the most part, I've recovered at least some understanding from people, even if you still don't agree with me.
All right. So that kind of sets the stage for what I might say is a misleading title and a misleading thumbnail. There's a whole lot to unpack in that first couple of minutes. I'm not going to unpack all of it. What I am going to unpack is particularly the bit about the dog, because what? People are coming after everything about me because of this. Everything about you. And now that I've mentioned except my dog, but now that I've mentioned it, then I guess maybe that's gonna happen now. Okay, you're friends with people who say I fuck my dog. You're friends with people who say I encourage people to feed their dogs chocolate and to kill them. Jimmy, these are people you are acquaintances with, I guess. I don't know what you mean by friendship anymore, but these are people that you've promoted on your channels and promoted elsewhere, particularly a dishonest lawyer that you had asked if Steve was doxing Kyle when the address was being disputed by showing the court records. You're friends with people and support people who encourage and push narratives that I have sex with my dog. You asshole. By the way, if you are having trouble with the internet, let me put it this way. And this is going to sound callous, because it kind of is. So if you think I'm being callous and maybe a little unfair, or maybe not very empathetic towards Jimmy, oh, don't worry, Spooky, I'll get to that. If you don't think I'm being very, very callous, or sorry, if you don't think I'm being very empathetic, I'm not very empathetic about this. I don't take issue with that personally. But there's a bit here that pretty much everything for the first chunk of time, and that is, Jimmy, that's a you problem. That's not other people's responsibility. That's a you responsibility. You're the one responsible for taking care of your mental health. You're the one who needs to take responsibility for stepping away from the internet. And you're the one who needs to deal with things the way that is going to be healthy for you to deal with things. That's not on other people. This is a you problem. A lot of this, the order that he puts things in this video is important. I'm not going to show him going through the order of which he's going to talk about things. He did so a little bit. But the first thing he talks about is numbers. Shocking. I know. Wow. My mind is blown. This is a pattern of behavior. Jimmy cares about numbers, so he puts them first. That's his primary thing that he puts value into, so that's the first thing he talks about because that's what he thinks is the most important. He's also like, I was wrong, but he's very vague about what he was wrong about, right? So that's and then he says that he's resentful. So I'll play a little bit more before I jump.
Let me list out real quick everything I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to start off by talking about why I turned off comments on the original groups, and Jesus, as I list all these out loud, like, so many things to address. I probably should have. Then I'm also going to hit some other general things from outside of this situation, and probably some more that come to mind as I put my thoughts together. All right, so let me start here. I absolutely think I did things wrong, but I'm also resentful of a lot of conspiracies and jumps to conclusions that people have come up with.
So I wrote a little blurb of what exactly that means. I was wrong, but I'm vague about what I was wrong about, and I'm going to make you listen to why I'm mad at you, the person I hurt, and had to read things that hurt me because of what I did, and that's your fault.
I'm not going to address all of them. I honestly couldn't if I wanted to. There's too many now. But if you are one of the people who started creating conspiracies about my personal life, or about my current relationship especially, I'm actually not trying to save you as a subscriber at all, and you can go.
That's fine. I can respect that. People making conspiracy theories about you is kind of bullshit, isn't it? Maybe you should stop supporting people who push conspiracy theories about people there, Jimmy. But hey, you know. My actions have consequences. When will I learn? I'm gonna jump ahead here because, spoiler alert, he never tells you what any of the conspiracy theories are. So just spoilers. I'm just gonna jump ahead just a titch.
Sort of been a dick. The knowledge that I have worked so hard to be a better person and be an activist and be an advocate and to have all of it washed away over something that felt like a totally personal matter. To put lightly, I'm not doing okay right now.
Jimmy, you blew pretty much all that out the window when the non-sequitur show shit happened, which is why I showed that at the beginning of this. From 2 years ago, when you supported your buddy stealing a bunch of money in a show and defrauding fans of that show and then telling the fans and the people he stole from to go fuck themselves. You're not a fucking advocate, Jimmy, you're a poser. If you weren't a poser, you wouldn't have people who are race baiters, rape apologetics, or apologists, people who attack victims or try and weaponize victimization on your channels, or, you know, as people that are go-tos. You wouldn't, if you were an advocate, that's not your behavior doesn't match your advocacy that you're trying to portray. I'll put it that way. That's a good way to put it. Good job, me.
But there have been plenty of people who have basically said, don't try to defend yourself, just admit you were wrong, and here you're going to see basically a mix of both. I'm going to be talking about both.
So this is the only criticism, like the constructive criticism that I'm actually going to give to Jimmy. If that were the case and you had things that you wanted to defend yourself on and things you wanted to apologize for, your best bet would have been to put that into 2 different videos. Make your apology video apologizing, and then when you have your stuff that you don't want to apologize for, be specific and be like, this isn't true and I'm not apologizing for this and here's why. And then you wouldn't confuse people, and people wouldn't be expecting an apology when there's... You guys go watch this whole video on your own time at some point and leave me a comment of how many times he actually apologized, because when I've watched it, I was only able to count one apology, and it was about something nobody said he did that I've seen. So he apologized for a straw man that he built. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I could only count one, but it wasn't applicable to the situation, so I'm not even sure if that one act even counts. But you guys watch this on your own and let me know what you think. I'm gonna jump ahead to 10:15 here. I think I said all I wanted to say about that bit. And yes, I am jumping around. I am assuming people have been watching this for the multiple weeks/years it's been going on, and there's been plenty of people that have covered this in way more depth. We're actually going to talk about it a little bit more tomorrow with some people, so we'll get there. We will get there. I assure you.
See, and I've also heard from many comments that I was basically breaking the same kind of trust that I felt like Rachel had broken before. But I did make that video. And I thought I said everything I needed to, but you don't know what you missed until it's pointed out.
And when you point it out to me, I'm going to block you and tell you to fuck off. Like with the non-sequitur show 2 years ago, and like with Rachel Oates a year ago, and like I've been doing recently when I talked about it and tried to explain myself and people pointed out how I was wrong or how I was missing things that I blocked and told to go, wow, this seems to be a thing that happens with Jimmy. Often, or I guess he's consistent. I'll give him that much. There was also that bit that he said earlier that we already watched about how the words he says are all the words that he needs. Brilliant says one apology and another where he went on to say but, insert caveat here. Oh, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of vague I'm sorry about stuff without specifying what the stuff is, but I'm resentful and fuck you for most of it. That matches his statement about non sequitur also.
So the number one reason I turned off comments was this, and many of you still won't agree with it. It isn't that I can't receive any criticism or that I want to make sure no one ever sees a negative thing. It was that the narratives being spun in the comments I felt weren't accurate. People were making claims about me that weren't true, and even if that was their honest assessment, I didn't have time to take on and correct each one. And if I'd tried, I probably would have fucked that up anyway. Like, I don't know if you've all noticed, I'm not right now doing very good at
what narratives, what claims were people making about you?
responding to people that I'm mad at for misrepresenting me. But I will tell you, this is now something I have brought up in therapy, and we're actually like dedicating a lot of the foreseeable future to try and fix that. I'm
Good for him.
I'm very aware that when I engage with somebody who I feel like is misrepresenting me, I lose my friggin' mind. I think I got used to it from all of the arguments with religious people and telling me like I can't have morals and stuff. And then I forgot to turn it off, and it grew and became hateful and just sort of expanded into other places. But I will say, I have said for years, my biggest pet peeve is being told what my intention and feelings are by someone who has no idea. Not just somebody who doesn't know me, but somebody who's saying from, for example, a text that your tone was this.
But you told people to have that expectation, Jimmy. You told people that the words you've said are the words that you need. You haven't given people any other choice, and when they've asked you for clarification, what you told them also to do, you tell them to fuck off.
That drives me wild. And I think everybody in my personal life knows that. I'm going to be later responding to some of the specific claims people made, but that was a big part of it. So here's some of the other reasons why I did that. The first few hours of the video, while there were people who were mad, it was mostly the same kinds of things. And actually there were lots of people who were kind and supportive and said the popular on my quote unquote side sentiment was, it seems like there was a miscommunication here and it's understandable and I hope you guys can fix this. But on the negative side, it was mostly the same kinds of things where people would leave in a huff because I had said I was friends with Gabby. I'm not kidding. That was for the first few hours. Most popular was, you're friends with Gabby, I'm out.
How dare they? I encourage everybody to just Google anything about Gabby Hanna and see what comes up. And you might probably agree with people who don't want to be around or associate with somebody who is friends with or supports Gabby Hanna.
And then when drama channels covered my video and spun what I said, the comments all shifted to the narratives they put out there. And that video had less than 20% engagement.
What channels? What narratives? I don't care about your engagement.
Creators and experts that I felt could help me figure out what I did and didn't do wrong. Part of why I'm not doing great. Second, I have now had conversations with creators and experts that I felt could help me figure out what I did and didn't do wrong.
What creators and what experts? Who did you talk to? You brought them up. Who are these people? What are these narratives? Who did you talk to? Because at this point, it makes sense that nobody believes a fucking word you say, especially since when you try to explain yourself, it just comes off way worse. So you'd probably be best to... Yeah, I don't even have any advice from you. You just fucked up. You just dug yourself the biggest goddamn hole, and I don't even know, dude. You stuck, bro. I don't know what to tell you. You have to actually apologize, and if you wanted to fix this, if you want anybody to believe or care about anything you have to say about your advocacy, which is what you seem to think is the most important that you care about, you need to swallow your pride and apologize for what you've done to people. you can have your reasoning and you can have your explanation as to where you were at the time and why you would do something, but that comes if people ask for it or after you're done apologizing for everything. I enjoy that he says talking to experts, because it just makes me think of him asking Nate if Steve docks Kyle by talking about a public document. Is that is expert? That happened. There's a lot of bullshit that's gone around. I'm gonna jump ahead to 1445 here.
Sorry, and I'm sorry for how the feelings that invoked. For the record, the Jimmy Snow you have seen recently that you don't like, I don't really like that guy either.
I think a lot of people haven't seen like a surprising, well, I think they're surprised, but I think that the Jimmy Snow that people have finally noticed has existed for a very, very, very long time. And if you didn't like that, this has been a thing for 2 years. I know it's not easy to change, but it's also not easy to say that you're not that person when you're consistently that person. You know.
And I hope you're gonna understand that I already knew that negative profiles of me were being painted in a lot of places, and I needed to universally shut that off my channel, because truly, it just felt like it was coming from everywhere and people were poisoning the well. Now, it's also a fact that many people complaining that I'm shutting down criticism, they weren't actually there for that. They were there to build and participate in a public attempt at pushing a few different narratives, at frankly pushing my cancellation. I reminded people that if they have something they want me to read, I have an email and I have a voicemail, which I realize as I'm saying out loud now, I do read the voicemails. It transcribes.
He doesn't tell you what email in this video. Let me double check the show more. Yeah, his email isn't down here either, so I don't know what email he's talking about. It might just be his YouTube email, but I mean, he wants people to email him if there's anything that you have issued.
This is usually where...
If you want to ask him, does he put an email here? No? Okay, we'll just do his business email. So if anybody, he just asked people if they have actual things they want to talk to him about, that they need to go to his email and email him instead of doing it publicly. So I guess I'm passing along the message additionally for him. If you wanted to email him, he just asked you to if you have any problems with anything he's done or said, and you care about actual criticism and not just part of any kind of cancellation thing, that you ought to be emailing him information that I didn't know existed up until this point. He certainly didn't leave it in his last email. He didn't say that to people who were criticizing him before on Twitter. He just told everybody to fuck off. But I guess he's got an email for us now to all go and send. I guess he's got a complaints department. So I guess if you have questions or want clarification about anything, you should be going to his email, according to him. That's the only email that's there.
Describes them. But almost no one took that up. Only a few dozen people compared to thousands of people who are wanting to repeat talking points that I think came from the drama channels.
Because you didn't tell anybody it existed. Nobody knew that existed. Now people know it exists. Maybe they'll take advantage of it now that you know that it's there, since you want them to. I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't know your guys' lives out there that are watching. I don't know what you want to do. This is what he said.
Is one of the single most hated people on YouTube, perhaps the most hated person on YouTube, and that regardless of whether or not that hatred is justified, which for me and my personal philosophy, hatred of an individual is almost never justified. That's my worldview. But even if it was, I know that the obsession with hating her is also real. I'm not saying that everyone who disagrees with her, dislikes her, or criticizes her is that way. I'm not saying that. In fact, I'm not even saying most of those people are that way.
I really want to know how this applies to the people that he is friends with and or talks to and or is acquainted with that hate Steve. I'd be curious to know how what he's saying about Gabby applies to Steve and how it applies to Kyle and Kyle's behavior throughout the past 2 years. Are you still friends with Kyle? Are you still friends with Katie? Jimmy? That's really my only question. Okay.
But it's so many people that even it being a subset, there are thousands of people right now who have such an obsessive hatred of her that a major part of their day, every day, is trying to burn down her world and anything it touches. And some of those people, it was clear, were in my comments. And then final reasons why I turned off the comments and went on a blocking spree. With all of that in mind, was that not only was the engagement on...
I'm just going to skip ahead because I don't really care about why he turned off his comment section. There are reasons to turn off your comment section that are totally valid. There are times where it's not valid, and if you care about that, then you can go right ahead. He apparently doesn't want people to leave public comments. He wants you to email him. Whatever. That's how he wants it to work. Okay. I'm jumping ahead to 2440.
Will on the person. In fact, I've still promoted people after our friendship ended in the past, but I do have my limits. Also, there's a huge problem with how we use a lot of words that just don't go, basically, the word friendship or friend, it's too universal of a word. We don't accurately and satisfactorily describe levels of friendship with the word friend. So here I also want to note why it's been taking so long for me to address this all, and it's simple. I was not ready before now. If I had rushed and just apologized for everything people said they disagreed with, it wouldn't have been genuine. I needed to be able to cool off from the defensive state I was in and get to a place where I could really start considering and listening and truthfully, I hope I'm there now, but I don't know if I am. But there's been a sense of urgency lately that I'm kind of taking a shot at it as soon as I feel like maybe I'm ready to go.
This bit on face value, I think most people agree with. In fact, this is actually one of the things I want to talk about because I actually disagree with most people's take on this, because most people agree with just the sentiment as it is, which is fine. I also agree with the sentiment as it is, but I'm not willing to give that credit to Jimmy because of the context of which he's saying this. The context in which he's saying this is that I was ready to put this out until it backfired on me. Then I got mad, put something else out. So because there's a year time frame here, right? There was a year ago when he had the blow up with Rachel, where he was already taking issue with people. There was 2 years ago when the non-sequitur show blew up and he was doing this. Then he does this a year later about the Rachel Oates thing, and he's saying that when he put this out he wasn't ready. But in that video, he said that he talked about it and that he showed it to people to make sure that it was ready when it went out. So what he wasn't ready for was the backlash. He wasn't ready for people to disagree with him. That's a different thing than you weren't being ready to apologize. You just weren't You're mixing up what you're ready for. It's not that you weren't ready to apologize, it's that you didn't think you needed to apologize and you weren't ready for the backlash for people to say, no. And that's what people did. And so now you're putting this out, but you're also hedging your bets a little bit to be like, well, I'm still not ready, but I'm going to try anyway. So even if I fail, I can just say I wasn't ready. This is like... I don't buy this. I don't buy this because of the context. The sentiment I understand. Yes, if you're having a hard time, take a step away, maybe have somebody write a statement for you that they can post for you, maybe let somebody else run your Twitter. He's got people. Maybe let one of them take over your Twitter account for a couple of days to be like, hey, listen, just say, listen, I'm going to make a statement about this later. I'm sorry, I'm not in a place to handle this right now. I will make a statement. A lot of people actually did accept that for the non-sequitur show stuff, which is why you saw posts from when it first happened in June, and then posts from October and September, because he said once litigation had come through he was going to say something, so people started asking him again once litigation came in, and he told those people to fuck off. So, you know, I don't... Okay. I don't know. I don't buy what Jimmy is saying here. I'll put it that way. If it was a standalone statement, yes. It is not a standalone statement, and the context in which he is saying this, I call bullshit. I'm jumping ahead to 26 minutes.
To justice. I really feel like I need to address a super common accusation that people are starting to make even videos about, which is that I use autism as a shield. And this is one of the things where I am fully going to reject this. It's one of the few things in here I'm fully going to reject, but I'm going to tell you why. Yes, I have 100% talked about my autism to explain why I might have said something, why I might have not understood something in its original context, but I have never once said that you have to excuse a thing that I've done to someone because I'm autistic. I will absolutely use it as an explanation, but I don't believe I have ever used it as an excuse. I even had one very critical person reach out and tell me that they're autistic and that they learned that they...
I'm not going to speak on autism itself too much. I think that would be a better conversation to be had elsewhere at another time. I'm more than happy to have that conversation, maybe tomorrow, but not right this second. But I did want to note what he just said there, because we did listen to his previous video, so you guys can compare what he said in the previous video and then what he just said. But also he's going to get a little bit more into this later, so I just wanted to play that for the context, so that way you understand what he's saying, that juxtaposed to a couple spots. But I'm going to play them now, so that way you can kind of see what I'm sort of saying here. So 26 minutes, he says he completely rejects the notion that he uses his autism as a shield. Steve actually brought this up the other day at that big summit meeting, and I said, you know what, I'm not sure about that yet. I've spent more time listening to what other autistic people have had to say when they've been talking about this, other victims have had to say. I didn't just watch Jimmy's videos. I've also been watching what other people have had to say to sort of kind of get a lot of different points. I will get into some of the Twitter stuff soon, but I'm already taking a long time. I was supposed to be done by now and playing D&D, but fuck me, I guess. This is really important, in my opinion. 2846. So I'm just going to jump ahead just a little bit. So again, he's saying that he's never used his autism as a shield, or that he, you need to excuse what he's doing because of his autism. So listen to this next couple of clips. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let him talk at these times.
I think it was brought up to help people excuse ignoring things about my diagnosis, and so they could use traditionally ableist speech like, it's not autism, you're just an asshole. Which, by the way, is a super common ableist phrase that autistics get to hear all the time.
Not all of us can be as good as Boole, unfortunately. You know, that person who got fucked over by your friend? That guy? That thing you still haven't talked about from 2 years ago? That guy? There are a lot of upsetting things about these situations, and why I can't accept Jimmy being upset that his advocacy is, you know, maybe not considered as good as it once was after he did and behaved the way he did 2 years ago over non-sequitur between Steve and Boole. Ignoring that Boole he's dead now, is autistic, and was struggling with having a place to live because he wasn't getting paid out from the non-sequitur show by Jimmy's friend Kyle, who stole all the money, and Steve, who is a veteran. But those things aren't really the important part, they're just details. But if Jimmy's gonna bring it up, this is at 16 seconds.
So let me start with something I definitely did wrong. I just shouldn't have said anything to Rachel about the review, even though my intentions were absolutely pure. The only reason why I brought it up was because, believe it or not, empathy. Something that I used to think I didn't have enough of, and then learning how it works with autistic people, lately I feel like I have too much. If everything people say about Gabby is true,
55 minutes.
I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be the one who sent it. So yes, I did publicly correct on Twitter what was said and admit that this conversation she was posting about, that I was the other person. Then that evening, I think it's honestly so long ago that it's kind of like hard to remember, but Rachel took what should have been another conversation between us and started up again publicly on Twitter. This time she was inebriated, and I tried to minimize what would happen. And while I felt like this was my trust broken again, I still wasn't ready to drop our entire friendship there. I did what I could to try and keep things cordial, and when she asked, what do you want from me? I simply said, I just want to talk, the two of us, privately. But then the next morning, instead of talking to me, she went back to Twitter, and that was my last one. It felt like 3 times my trust had been broken in a way that's like hard for me to navigate because, yes, I'm gonna say it, I'm autistic. And when you're autistic, it's already hard enough to try and explain yourself to one person, let alone explain yourself to one person with 1,000 referees around you. Believe it or not, these are often the same things. And I know people don't want to hear it, but yes, this is also from the autism. Not saying to excuse it, but I am explaining myself. Now, I will say, I know that all creators think about their numbers and try to do things to make them go up, but they don't talk publicly as much about it because it does rub audiences the wrong way. So they try to make it look innocent and good, or trying to make sure that you get at least one segment during those Monday through Thursday shows of Dear Mr. Atheist, and then a dedicated of Dear Mr. Atheist on the weekend, at least one, sometimes more, especially when like things aren't going so good and we need to push some traffic to the channel. The next thing I'm going to address is a twofer because they go together, and I think I just kind of did one of them a little. People feel like that I tried to manipulate people into watching the Sometime Show, and that there are a number of you also who wish that I would shut up about numbers. Believe it or not, these are often the same thing. And I know people don't want to hear it, but yes, this is also from the autism. Not saying to excuse it, but I am explaining myself. Now, I will say, I know that all creators think about their numbers and try to do things to make them go up, but they don't talk publicly.
I am more than happy to have this discussion and talk about more about whether or not Jimmy actually is sort of maybe using his autism as a shield, or even not so aggressively to say as sort of an excuse, or is a crutch about navigating conversations. It could be. It sounds like it's something that he's still struggling with. The answer is that I'm still not sure. I'm more than happy to have this conversation, and I would love to have this conversation a little bit more with people who know more than I do about it, and hopefully I'll be able to, but it's easy to understand why people, some of who I think it's safe to assume are also autistic, may have felt like you're using it as a shield. I think that's a fair thing to be questioning at the very least. So I would love to hear more about the arguments about that, because I don't think I've fully decided one way or another, and I might never, and I think that's fair. I'm not the arbiter. I just think there are people that know more than me, and I'd love to hear more about what other people think and have to say about it. Because there might just be a decision that I never actually make. 28 minutes. And we're going back on track about nonsense.
But I will say, even knowing all of that, if I know that I have made a person feel wronged, even by something that I couldn't conceive of being wrong, I will still try to fix it. And I will still, hopefully, through explaining what I meant, try to fix it. But I'm not going to not bring up my autism when it's relevant. That is to me saying that I need to apologize, and that autistic people need to apologize, because we need to accept that the world belongs to neurotypicals and that we have to go out of our way just to think about them and make them comfortable, which, by the way, we already do so much when we're masking. So this to me was the controversial, like conversational equivalent of telling a paraplegic person that they need to apologize for needing an elevator. But actually the fucked up thing is I actually know paraplegic people, and I know some of them do apologize for things like that, for things they can't control. Basically, this is ableism to me.
I'm Canadian, so sometimes people just apologize to be polite, not because they're actually sorry. I don't know how that applies, because, I mean, I'm sure there are some situations where it is and some situations where it wouldn't. This seems very blanketed, and I feel like if he wanted to have this conversation, again, maybe this is another piece of advice, maybe do this as another video?
For some, it's just internalized, and for others, it's just plain ableism. But I will say, even knowing all of that, if I know that I have made a person feel wronged, even by something that I couldn't conceive of being wrong, I will still try to fix it. And I will still, hopefully, through explaining what I meant, try to fix it.
Explaining what you meant doesn't necessarily fix anything. On the other hand, how's that going for the Non Sequitur show? How's that going for Steve and the Non Sequitur show fans? You know, because you still, even if you couldn't conceive that Kyle was wrong, that the way you behaved and the fact that you streamed on the channel after Kyle stole it, that might have been not necessarily the morally or ethically appropriate thing to do, Mr. I'm going to be an advocate. Maybe? I don't know. What the fuck do I know? 38 minutes.
Pretty boring. But I think the trick with being friends with most people, with people who first met you as fans, is being aware that an imbalance could be there and just never try to exploit it. But because it's also come up recently, I'll address dating fans also. First of all, I'll say this. I think it is absolutely possible for a person to date or have a casual relationship for someone who started as their fan. Again, acknowledging that fan means too many things. There is a class of fans I don't agree with that on. But I also think it's still tricky, and my thoughts have changed over the years. Because do remember, I've only been big for like 2 years now. And honestly, it's something I've learned as I've gone. So before that big 2 years, for the first year, I was so small that it wouldn't have even occurred to me to like think a power imbalance could exist. As long as it.
Considering the DMs I showed you that he had with me about how he doesn't answer thousands of messages and only accepts people under these conditions, he was already considering numbers. This is a lie. I don't believe this for a second. This is just garbage. This is bullshit. That message that he sent to me was dated. It was over 2 years ago.
Was a healthy, honest, and consensual relationship. That was good enough for me. And I mean, that's just how relationships should be in general. But for me, I was just a dude that was making videos in his bedroom or living room. Once things grew, I knew that there had to be a new emphasis on being completely open with intentions and possibilities, which obviously that's.
Jimmy has always cared about numbers. It's always the first thing he's talking about. For him to say that this is not something that he considered, maybe you didn't consider it in that direction, which I'm not sure I buy. But, you know.
Refer to people who defend religious concepts, things that seem very barbaric and illogical. For example, apologists are those who would try to defend biblical slavery or that free will exists or things like that from a religious standpoint. And usually those apologetics come with like a lot of baggage. So I'm going to be very upfront now. There was a time in my life I absolutely was a rape apologist. That is actually true of a past iteration of me. Now, I think that almost entirely existed when I was a Mormon, and then it was something I had to lose when I got out of Mormonism. And rape apologetics are the kinds of things that I literally dedicate so much time to on fighting on my channel. Like when I fight the transformed wife who says that marital rape is impossible, that you can't be raped by your husband. It's automatically consented to. Or when I fight implications from people like Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined who like to write off a lot about the culture and what is happening on the basis of like, well, women were wearing such and such, so, you know, we have to hold them responsible too. To be a rape apologist is to justify, to defend, or excuse rape. And that is not something I do, and I insist that people who do something like that can change. And I'm not going to let somebody define me by mistakes that I was brainwashed and abused with in my past. But then I also get accused of defending or supporting a rape apologist, specifically Gabby Hanna. And so I want to say this first. One, being a friend's person, that's being a person's friend, that does not mean that you condone a single action of theirs. And I also think that
He's already making excuses. He starts off by making excuses for Gabby Hanna and excusing his friendship of her. Friendship that he says only had 2 messages and he didn't even remember the context of one of the messages in regards to Rachel. So, if he doesn't believe that she is a rape apologist, then have that conversation and say your reasoning, you're so great at argumentation, explain your reasoning why. I also do not think that people ought to be shunned and treated miserably forever because of mistakes they've made in their past that they have made up for and they have rectified and behaviors they have stopped doing. I don't believe in crucifying somebody for all eternity because they were a shithead about something. I think people are people and ought to be treated as people. That doesn't mean that you just allow them to do whatever the fuck they want and keep making somebody else's life horrible forever by excusing rape. Fucking rape apologetics. I've had this conversation so many times over the past year and a half because I know, and I'm one of the people who has been falsely accused of apologizing for rape even recently, when I said that there was an issue with somebody lying about the police officer. But all Jimmy really has to say here is one of 2, he has 2 real options if he actually wanted to address the issue. One is to say that, yes, Gabby Hanna is a rape apologist because of these reasons, and I am not okay with that. I've said that to her. Here's where I've said that to her. I do not condone this whatsoever. Because condemning rape apologetics doesn't mean you have to be cruel or go out of your way to be mean to somebody. You may choose to shun somebody, you may choose not to shun somebody, and you might have your reasons for doing so or not doing so, and people can discuss those until the cows come home, and they may choose to not engage with you because you're choosing to still engage on a friendly manner with somebody who is you accept as a rape apologist, even though you don't accept that their apologetics is a good thing or an acceptable thing. That's fine. You can have those nuances. That's okay. Don't get mad at people for not wanting to be around you because you support a rape apologist. The thing is that you are supporting a rape apologist, you're white knighting for a rape apologist, and for some reason you're dodging around saying that you're against the things that she did. If I actually believed that Steve was a rape apologist, I would be like, we would have words. There would be words, and a lot of those words would also be public. I don't believe Steve is a rape apologist for a couple of reasons. I also don't believe I'm a rape apologist for a couple of reasons, despite the claims made about me. But I'm not saying rape is okay or that rape apologetics is okay. I'm saying I don't believe the rape apologetics happened. There's a different conversation there. If Jimmy doesn't believe that Gabby Hanna is engaged in rape apologetics, he can have that conversation and not be the asshole. And say that, well, I don't believe she engaged in rape apologetics, and then have that conversation. But that opens that conversation of him having to, if he's good at argumentation and accepts facts and is a skeptic and accepts facts where they go, then he has to accept that if Gabby Hanna is shown to be a rape apologist, he needs to change his tune and change his attitude. Now, if he knows and believes she is a rape apologist, why is he dancing around saying that she's a rape apologist and he's not okay with that? I don't know why. I'm just asking questions. No, this is what he asked. He wanted people to ask for clarification. I would like clarification on something like that. That's a question I would ask Jimmy if I spoke to Jimmy. I'm gonna go jump to 50 minutes because rape apologetics sucks to talk about. I'm sure I'll end up talking about it more at some point, sadly, but I'm jumping ahead for now because I've already been going really long and there's still more to cover.
And how your mental health can go completely down the toilet. Mine definitely has. And I feel like I have an empathy for that, even for somebody.
Stop putting your mental health on other people. It's your responsibility. Jimmy, this is a you problem. The same reason I would, if I'm not in a good mental place, I don't blame other people for putting me there or making me read anything or saying cruel or bad things to me. That's my responsibility. I might eventually, I might eventually talk about it and say, hey, this is why I wasn't in a good place. But I leave and make sure I don't do extra additional shitty stuff while I'm in a bad place. That's my responsibility. And if I don't do that, then I need to take responsibility for the things I did when I was in a bad mental space. The thing is there's a lot of half of what an apology is, but not an actual full apology.
And others who have done crappy things and said crappy things. Also, I will tell you that negativity, it creates this urgency in you. Like you need to get things out, and in some cases that you have to fight back. And again, because I've seen how this gets interpreted, I'm going to restate, I am not defending any individual action. I am only saying that I refuse to forget that a person is human. And I think about it more than you realize, even when it comes to people like Girl Defined.
Then stop being vague. Stop being vague. Have the conversation like an adult. Gabby Hanna's an adult. Treat her like an adult. Girl Define's an adult. Treat her as an adult. Rachel's an adult. Treat her as an adult. Then have that conversation. Stop being vague. Oh, somebody might do a bad thing. Well, you could just say, well, Gabby Hanna engaged in rape apologetics and I don't, and she is a rape apologist and I think that's a bad thing. I think rape apologetics is bad and I think she's wrong for having done so. Wow, that was difficult.
So the first thing that keeps getting lost and changed from the video I did was that while I knew the whole thing was going to be a book review, the actual thing that was bothering me were these Insta and Twitter posts that to me seemed very unkind. And actually, in comments Rachel has left in other places, Rachel called them childish. But I 100% understand that the
something being childish isn't necessarily a bad thing. By the way, being childish is okay. Helios for 2, ETA for DNT. As soon as I'm done this, go ahead and get started without me. I will join as soon as possible. I thought I would be done by now. I was wrong.
The way that first message came across seemed like it was trying to change the tone of a review. I do think that I explained and cleared it up in the messages that followed. However, I know that by the time that happened, Rachel was already mad, and now I know that there were these other things going on in her life that likely made it harder for her to have that conversation with me in a productive way.
He kind of goes both ways on this, where he says he knows Rachel well, then says he doesn't know Rachel well, then he says he's a good friend, and he was trying to be a good friend, but then he wasn't being a good friend, and then he wasn't doing any research, and then Rachel Oates continued the conversation to him publicly when that's not what she did, that was just his interpretation.
And I totally understand. If those things were happening to me, I would have been the same. But they are things that were happening in her life that at that time I didn't know were happening. But here's also the thing. While I do think my intentions and my words have been totally spun and totally misrepresented by channels talking
But I thought all you needed were your words
about it and by people who are pushing narratives, I also think that the message was wrong for a different reason. I have since learned that a community and set of ethics for book reviewers exist. And that blew my friggin' mind considering the fact that I have done several book reviews and was never aware I didn't know that community exists, and I was certainly never approached by a community like that.
This is where we learn that Jimmy Snow doesn't know how to do an ounce of research. And this bothers me for a different reason. Jimmy has done a lot of advocate work. Jimmy has done a lot of work going against things like purity culture, going against religious things, going against the grain about a lot of these kinds of things. If he can't do or have like the basic understanding that this thing might exist to the point that it blows his mind that there's like a standard or an ethical standard about stuff like this is super bizarre to me. How do we trust anything that Jimmy says about anything when he doesn't have the basic amount of research to look at his friend's video or even know that there's like a standard for book reviews? There's a standard for movie reviews. There's a whole rating system for video games and rating video games, and these are regular things in most media. I find it bizarre that you would exclude books for some reason and that it would blow your mind. but you didn't even think to look it up? This is where Rachel told him about the book review community. He even read it out. Yes. In his first video, when he shows the messages from a year ago, Rachel told him all of this. All Jimmy has to do to understand everything is to read the words that Rachel told him. No wonder she blocked him and wouldn't want to talk to him after this. You don't listen anyway. You obviously don't give a shit. And it's okay. If you don't want to give a shit, don't give a shit. Fine. I'm jumping ahead again. He blames Rachel still for basically having a Twitter "Am I the asshole?" conversation about the conversation, which he already said would be fine if he did something inappropriate, and she thinks he did something inappropriate, so it should be fine. He shouldn't have an issue with it. He's got a double standard about that, basically. An hour in, he's still vague about Gabby Hanna, but I'm gonna jump to an hour.
I'm autistic. And when you're autistic, it's already hard enough to try and explain yourself to one person, let alone explain yourself to one person with 1,000 referees around you. Now listen, I've definitely learned since then that what Rachel was going through was intense and serious, and I now know that a lot more was going on. Had I known that at the time, I probably would have also dismissed the third incident. I will say that, Rachel, I seriously hope you have all the support and everything you need.
Him counting these incidents about Rachel is bullshit. I'm not gonna go through them. I think maybe another time, but it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit excuses. It's not. She didn't do anything. He's just finding a way to blame her and shift responsibility off of himself because he doesn't actually, apologize for anything. But whatever.
I would have absolutely not turned you away if you had needed help and had asked for it during that time, even after I was mad at you. If you need it in the future, of course, whatever I could do. But for me, my trust was broken, and at the time, that was why I decided I couldn't stay in that situation.
Ask the person that you feel like is manipulating you, has made multiple videos now, still not understanding a single fucking word you said, and go to him for help. Who decided to go at you because of the words of Gabby Hanna, who asked you to review her book, which Jimmy, for some reason, still hasn't wrapped his head around.
As far as picking between them, I have never felt like I've had to pick between the two, and neither of them have either asked me to. I also would have been completely fine if during that first message, Rachel just told me to fuck off. I probably would have wanted to take a couple of days to reset, but being told to fuck off, and I want it to be true, that telling others to fuck off shouldn't be the end of a friendship. Now, in regards to my friendship with Gabby Hanna, I'm not going to go into incredible detail. I'm not going to be sharing contents of conversations because, like I just said, I think that would violate our trust. But Gabby and I are friends because she reached out after seeing some of my content, and we ended up having very interesting conversations about those things.
Did you have 2 conversations or more than 2 conversations? Because you're really mixing up your word friends here that you're saying is too vague.
It's worth noting, though, that it probably wouldn't have changed much, but when we were having those conversations, I was mostly...
Verillion also makes a good point. Jimmy also forgot that Rachel was also autistic, who defines a friendship like that. Yeah, Rachel has lots of different things going on in her life. She has had lots of different things going on in her life for a long time that she's very, very open about. I haven't watched her in a long time, and even I know some of the stuff from 2 years ago. So, why do you...
unaware of Gabby's history. When we met, I honestly thought her biggest crimes were these edgy TikToks. Either way, I tend to want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and she showed a lot of interest in my story and also was excited to share stories of her own with someone that she felt could understand. Now, that said, we've also had very big disagreements and have gotten in very
hero complex Jimmy Snow. Save the Gabby Hanna from Gabby Hanna.
heated fight.
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
Usually also about things that are related to supernatural stuff, I guess you could say, but other things too. But as far as our friendship goes, we are friendly and we are kind to each other, but we don't talk very often at all. And I feel like that's been lost too in calling her my friend. Like this year, we've only spoken a couple of times for the entire...
So now I only had a couple of messages with Gabby Hanna and I talk to Rachel all the time, and now it's the other way around, and that he talks to Gabby all the time, but has only messaged Rachel a couple of times this year. So you haven't talked to her much, and then you came in sideways at her about the book review you didn't watch. This reminds me a lot of the conversation you tried to have with me that you started a month after our last conversation saying, what the fuck is this thing that you're in? I told you my screenshots at the beginning were relevant.
Entire year. And then a handful of times before make up our entire friendship before that. But I just personally do not believe in guilt by association or isolating people that we don't agree with. If anything, I actually believe that those are horrible practices, that those make the world more polarized and more...
Some people who are victims and some people who are not victims may not be able to handle having a conversation with somebody who is a rape apologist. Don't try and say that it's not okay for them to not have those conversations if they don't want to engage in those conversations and isolate themselves from those conversations. Fuck you. This is a really shitty, manipulative thing to say.
Violent. Believe it or not, I absolutely have no problem telling Gabby things that I don't like or agree with. But again, we don't talk that often, so we're not covering that much stuff.
But he's not willing to tell you about what he disagrees with about Gabby Hanna. Publicly. He's not willing to tell you, as in you guys.
I don't also think so much of myself or so little of her humanity that I think she doesn't deserve me as just a kind and positive person in her life. Now, I will tell you, I can't speak for the future. I'm going to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But I would say as of late, there have been details that I have learned more recently, a lot coming from some of you, that have made me much more apprehensive, and I'm probably now a little more on guard than I was before. However, again,
it's usually good to be guarded on the internet.
I'm hoping for the best. I want to say too, I do totally understand that many people have very strong feelings about Gabby. I know that there are people who still feel upset with some of her actions, and certainly...
How much is he gonna white knight for Gabby, by the way? Because this is a lot. This is a lot of white knighting for Gabby. For somebody he barely talks to, but talks to all the time, but doesn't want to say what he disagrees with on, but is fine with This is why people are confused, and why people are asking for clarification, and then you block and tell them to go fuck themselves after you tell them to give you clarification. Anyway, he said that he wanted people to talk to him on his emails, and if you have issues with what he says, that he said to message him on emails. That, I don't know.
I feel upset about her extremely toxic public relationship with Jessie Smiles. And I want to say to you who feel that way, I assure you, I am not asking you to like her or to be her friend too.
Guilt by association, when it comes to associating with a rape apologist, it's not because you're associated with them, it's because you're associating with them without being clear that you're not okay with their rape apologetics. Some people might be not okay with being around you because you allow somebody like that in your life, and that's fine. That's their decision to make, because there's a difference between saying you're guilty and deciding that, hey, listen, because you do this, I'm not comfortable. Those are two different things. But saying, hey, I don't want to be around you because you're engaging with that person over there and I don't feel safe, is different than saying you're guilty of doing the same thing that person is doing because you're associating with them. If you're being complicit and complacent about rape apologetics, which is what Jimmy is doing right now, different problem.
I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to tell you that your feelings are wrong, but I would like it if you'd maybe extend the same to me. And so that brings me to this. There's been a narrative running off all of this that I have been silencing sexual assault survivors. And the implication when someone says that and say, like, tags you in a post with other women that you work with while completely making bad faith arguments is that you're trying to shut up women who have been assaulted because they had been assaulted, because they were sex assault victims. This is simply not true. And it is a narrative that could be driven with any group, honestly. You could do this with anyone. Anyone who tried to push the conversation when I was...
You mean like you tried to paint Steve as a transphobe when he admitted to having a difficulty and a weakness to using they, them when he was typing because that's not how he was taught and he was struggling with it. So he was asking people for patience and understanding for correcting him because it was something that he needed to practice because he wasn't good at that. And you took his admission of weakness as a point that you thought you could hit him on to manipulate and call him a transphobe about and try and cancel him. And then your best buddy tried to steal his show that you showed up on when he tried. It's funny how all that shit kind of all happened at the same time, isn't it? Huh. Coinkydink.
Wasn't ready or post things about me that weren't true, yeah, I blocked them, regardless of who they were. So a person could cherry pick from those people I blocked. So they say they picked out just black women or just trans men or whatever group you like and say that I'm silencing those people too because they were being blocked. The thing is that everyone was being blocked. That's kind of it. That's kind of the depth of it all. But I do understand that if you have concerns about my associations, that could be coming from a place that is genuine, that is from your experience, and that it might hurt extra if you are then blocked. So I'm not saying I'm taking nothing from that criticism, just not the criticism as it exists on the surface.
Because you don't understand what people are saying and you're not listening to them.
Do absolutely take exception that I was targeting these people for silence. And honestly, I can't really...
You were targeting them for silence. You just explained exactly how you were targeting them for silence.
Silence anybody. I can stop you from using my platform. I can stop you from trying to force conversations and narratives on my platform.
This is white privilege. This is white man privilege. That's what that is. I can't really stop you from doing anything. You're a big platform, Jimmy, and you've helped a lot of these people. I'm gonna let him finish because I have a blurb about this.
But I have never tried or advocated shutting down the platforms of others, even those platforms that have people lying about me, like completely.
Except for Steve, 2 years ago, when you tried to paint him as a transphobe by manipulating a weakness that he said he had and was struggling with out of context and manipulated it to make it try and paint him as a transphobe to get him canceled and stir up trouble, which then immediately after your best buddy Kyle tried to steal the channel from him on the show that you showed up on after he stole the channel 2 years ago. You've never done that?
Completely whole cloth lies. And I will tell you, I'm a victim of sexual assault myself. I've mentioned it on my channel. I don't like to go a lot into detail about it. But anybody who's seen my channel knows that I take sexual assault super seriously. And I really think that this gets to the
Doesn't sound like it when you say it like that, but okay.
point that hurts the most. Seeing people reduce all of the work I've done. All the work I've done on myself, all the work I've tried to do for others, and trying to make the case that none of that matters, and that I shouldn't be able to keep my platform, which
the work you've done doesn't get erased by the things you do, but when you continuously behave poorly, it undermines the work you've done in the past. So if you've been an advocate in the past for people who are victims of sexual assault, platforming and defending a rape apologist is harmful to the work that you've done in the past.
I think has been used almost entirely, mostly, to try and make the world a better place. Even the Sometimes Show is built to raise social awareness and promote causes that I care about, even if obviously sometimes the Sometimes Show does it through humor, sometimes crude humor, sometimes gross.
Do you care that your friend 2 years ago stole money, frauded fans who are part of the LGBTQ plus community by utilizing the LGBTQ plus platform that you yourself were working on building to steal from those people and steal the platform, and then all of those people who were victims were silenced by you and your friends who asked you about it?
Humor. I've seen those comments too. Right now it feels like my platform is trying to be pried away from me because of some things people have put in a negative column while completely ignoring a positive column. And if I'm being honest, it has hurt a lot. It has been destroying me. So
and what do you think that did to Stephen Boole? when your friend literally pried their platform away from them by stealing it and all of the money that was made, does it matter that Bull's part of the LGBTQ plus community and was autistic? Because Jimmy seems to care about that. Does any of that matter to... I don't think it really matters that much outside of the fact that Jimmy claims to be an advocate. So if you claim to be an advocate, why are you letting somebody who says that they're an LGBTQ plus advocate steal from an LGBTQ plus member of that same platform? I don't know where the line is with Jimmy, to be honest. It's interesting how many people seems to have forgotten that this isn't the thing that happened. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't know because Jimmy kind of went off on his own way with a lot of those other people. Jimmy, are you still friends with Kyle? Are you still friends with KJ? You were all on the same show together, all making shit up about Steve right before your friend stole the channel from him and Boole. You still friends with them? I don't know.
Regarding the Gabby and Rachel situation and my fan interactions, I guess I would just say, like, there was, and hopefully now you know it, there is nuance to these things. But other than that, that's what I have to say there. I do know that people have taken this time, especially while there is so much coming at me, to voice some other issues and some other grievances. So I think it's actually better to lay everything on the table, even though I don't know how much of a voice I have left. But I want to...
Jimmy has 380k subscribers. Shut up, dude. This is such a bullshit first world problem complaint. Oh my god. I'm gonna jump to an hour and 7 minutes real quick, and then I'm gonna say the thing about the platform that he has that I have, and then I'm probably gonna just look at Twitter, and then I'm gonna wrap it. There's a couple of bullshittery things on Twitter that I think are important, so here we go.
How wonderful, like, this community is, because it is. We have built a great community. And I could make excuses, even ones that might be valid, about health and stuff. But the fact is, even with those intact, it doesn't really answer for how cold I've definitely come off lately. Now, as far as guilting people goes, I really... It makes people feel like they're just a number and that my motives are purely analytics. I'm going to be real with you. On a personal level, I am obsessed with numbers. I really, really am. I love numbers. I love trying to predict what they are going to do. I love trying to figure out how to change them. I love numbers. But I should not have made that your problem. And I can tell you that my actual values aren't influenced by the numbers. I promise you, being a vocal queer activist...
That is almost an apology. Close.
A trans-allied feminist is not the way you do the best numbers on YouTube. And truthfully, when I started, I did not think things would be as big as they became. I thought I had the potential to do okay, but this thing took off at a speed that I couldn't even conceive would happen. Now, I regret how detached that I became lately from how wonderful, like, this community is, because it is. We have built a great community. And I could make excuses, even ones that might be valid, about health and stuff. But the fact is, even with those intact, it doesn't really answer for how cold I've definitely come off lately. Now, as far as guilting...
It's not how cold you've come off, it's how cold you've been. But I do want to talk about the platform that he's built a little bit, because Jimmy has a vulnerable audience on purpose because of the activism he does. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying vulnerable in, like, a negative aspect. I don't mean, like, these people are weak or these people are stupid. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, they are people who are coming from a vulnerable place. So if you're coming out of religion, Jimmy has helped a lot of people with that. If you're coming from an LGBTQ plus, a very in a poor place, Jimmy has helped a lot of people help them deal with that and get out of that poor place. I'm not going to discount any of Jimmy's good works that he's done or been able to help people. Now, his behavior has completely undermined it and has been undermining it for 2 years, even though a lot of those audience members may not be aware of that. He knows his audience is vulnerable. And he's cultivated that through his activism. Again, inherently not a bad thing. However, you chose to expose these people to Gabby Hanna. You chose to expose these people who are vulnerable and who have said they're vulnerable and who said they aren't. Some of them are due to your advocacy and what you say that you advocate, and you've exposed them to Gabby Hanna. So you could be her savior in private. Either Jimmy completely disregards or doesn't have any understanding of his audience at all, or he knows this and doesn't care, or he knows this and does care, and I don't know. I don't know how to parse that, because he knows his audience. He just said he likes numbers and analytics, and that has to do with demographics and understanding what your demographics do and mean in different contexts. So and who your audience is. And so you know that you do activism and your numbers aren't the way you think they could be if you didn't do activism, but you still know that your audience is that group of people, and you still decided to expose them to Gabby Hanna. I have some stuff I want to look at as to where Jimmy is a little bit more at today. I also want to look at this message that Telltale got. And so this is Noverdia. They've been around the atheist sort of skeptic community for a very long time. I've seen them a lot. I have no ill will toward these people, this person, but I do want to talk about this. This was on July 19th. It is now July 23rd. I don't care about how you feel about Jimmy. Yes, he has done some shitty things recently, over the past 2 years, but okay, semantics, I guess. But everyone needs to back the fuck off now. This is kind of a little bit what people are talking about when they're talking about silencing victims. No, they don't. Because whatever's happening with Jimmy is that's a Jimmy problem. That's a Jimmy issue. That's Jimmy's business, not everybody else's business. Everybody else is welcome to talk about whatever. He made it public. Unfortunately, that's the way it works. Does it suck sometimes? Yeah, but sorry. I hate seeing people pile on, but his own behavior caused this. The internet does need to calm the fuck down, though. Doesn't change his weird choices. The internet always needs to calm the fuck down, so I would agree with that, but how dare he be human and not get everything right immediately every time? Then he has the termity to try and grow from that experience, except he's not. Oh, hey, bullshit. The only thing he's trying to grow is his own channel. This isn't the first time, but this time it has absolutely backfired on him. Yo, Mick is right. Who's Jimmy? I truly hope he gets the help he needs, but I also want him to do better. He's been shitty the past few years, and it sucks to see him act this way. Accountability is important, but so is mental health. Be a better human. It's not okay. 100%. Vegan Atheist Coral nails it. It does. Saying that no, the internet gets to say whatever it wants, it is just a brute fact. The internet is gonna do the internet. That's what the internet does. It's what the internet is. It's gonna do internet. Jimmy needs to take care of himself, and you can't put this on other people. It's not other people's responsibility to take care of Jimmy. It's Jimmy's responsibility to take care of Jimmy. It's Jimmy's friends and family that is responsible for taking care of Jimmy when he is not able to, if they so take on that role. If there's nobody to take on that role for Jimmy when he can't take care of himself, then that's very sad. No one coming forward with sexual misconduct allegations. No one coming forward with sexual misconduct allegations should have to back off or stay silent. Yes. So there have been some claims about Jimmy that I actually only found out through Jimmy, and then found out some videos later about Jimmy behaving in not so cool manner towards friends of his and sort of taking advantage of his numbers. That was a power dynamic bit we listened to. I didn't go full and too much into it. They should not have to stay silent. Agreed. I think people need to take a breather, though. No. Agreed. Yes, they should not have to stay silent. Period. It's not that hard. I think people need to take a breather, though. Don't get me wrong, I don't support him at all, but he checked himself in on suicide watch. Everyone is on high emotions right now. If this stops for a day, cooler heads will prevail. Okay, I have some problems with this sentiment. Sexual misconduct allegations should not have to back off or stay silent. Don't get me wrong, I don't support him, but he's checked himself in on suicide watch. Why is that on the victims to cater to, first off? Second off, if he's checked himself into a hospital, he ought not to be looking at his phone or at the internet because they would be keeping him away from things like that. So, if anything, now is a perfectly open time to talk about Jimmy when it's not going to hurt him. Because he is in a safe place right now where whatever's being said about him he's not even going to hear about it, and he will be able to hear about it when he's ready to, instead of being bombarded by it constantly 24/7. This is not the victim's problem, is probably the more callous way to say it. I'm glad Jimmy is getting help. I'm glad Jimmy has recognized that he needs that kind of help and he's going to get that kind of help. Good for him. That is not a reason why people should feel like everyone is on high emotions. How do you know that? And why is them sitting on their emotions the thing they ought to do because of Jimmy being not in a good headspace? If somebody's being abused, it's not the victim's responsibility to care about their abuser's mental state when it comes to coming forward and speaking about their own experience. It's the abuser who needs to be concerned about their mental state, which it sounds like from your post that Jimmy is doing. He is caring about his own mental state and he's got himself checked in. I understand what you're trying to say. I understand the sentiment or what you're trying. I would love to have a conversation with Navardia about this at some point. I think that would be a very progressive and interesting conversation to have. I would love to have it with maybe Katie Daisy, who is a professional advocate. So, and speaking to somebody who has spoken a lot and worked with a lot of people who have been victims, I think would be very, very, very valuable. So if Navardia would love to actually come on and have a discussion about this, I think this reads as like, if you wanted to read this the worst interpretation, which I really don't think is what Navardia meant, but if you were in a high emotional state and you were one of the victims, this reads like, if you talk about this, Jimmy's going to kill himself, so don't talk about it. That's what, as if you're concerned about high emotions, which is what they said. But I certainly don't think that's what's intended. There are more than one ways to interpret something, and that's probably one of the worst ways to interpret it, which I don't think is what was intended, but it could definitely be read that way. What I think they meant is, hey, listen, everybody calm down. There's a serious, more emergency medical thing, so other things can wait a day, which in most cases is not unreasonable. The pizza can wait till tomorrow, until after we're done dealing with the heart attack over here. But I don't think this is one of those cases, especially this is the internet. You can't police the internet. Once you put it out there, it's out there forever. You can apologize for it, and you can try and make up for it, and you can try and do better. Not everybody's going to accept that apology, and people are going to critique your apology. Welcome to the internet! Can the internet be better? Yeah, sure. Should the internet be better? That would be great. What exactly this I do take a bit of an issue with. What exactly happened? I only watched his videos from time to time, so I'm not aware of what has been happening that made people get hurt. He defended Gabby Hanna, who is a verifiable narcissist, against Rachel Oates. He got blowback from it, didn't handle the criticism very well, and, well, everything snowballed into him being hospitalized on suicide watch. I blame Gabby Hanna. There's a lot that you left out of that. A lot of important things that you left out of that, like being sexually inappropriate with fans, that he's didn't know. It wasn't that he defended Gabby Hanna against Rachel Oates, it's that he white knighted Gabby Hanna and threw Rachel Oates right the fuck under the bus. And then the blowback, it wasn't he didn't handle criticism very well, it's he tried to whitewash the situation the same way he did 2 years ago with non-sequitur show. This is not a very good description, and is missing some very key details. And I don't know what Navardia had seen up until that point, so I don't even know if... Well, no. We knew she's aware of it. I was about to say, maybe she hadn't seen that bit, but up here she said, it was no one coming forward gets sexual misconduct. And then she immediately leaves it out right down here. When was this? 9/12, and this was 7:41. Okay, maybe she didn't know, but she doesn't act like she didn't know when she read this one. So I don't know. Either way, well, I have a problem. I stayed away from all this in the first place. Yeah, I did too, but this has gone too far. Gone too far for who? You're asking one group of people to be silent about their victimization while supporting the other end. You're making the same mistake that Jimmy did. Oh, Cliff notes, he's not doing so well right now. I think we got that. If he's in the hospital, at least he's not going to be dealing with the internet. So now is actually the perfect time for victims to be able to come forward and not feel pressured about how the other person might take it, because they won't be looking at the internet until they're in a far better place. That's how I take it, at least. Maybe I'm wrong. You're welcome to disagree with me. Let me know. Whichever fucking monster is sending these messages to me and my wife, please stop. You are no better than the Christian ISIS group, ISIS group that attacked us a few months ago. I never said I supported Jimmy. I said nobody deserves that kind of shit. What's wrong with you? I don't know what kind of shit you're talking about, but you and your husband are disgusting for supporting Jimmy. I've been a fan of you both for a while now, and I'm so disappointed at you. After seeing your husband's tweet posted to the subreddit, that's not a hate group, thank you very much, and the fact that you are complicit with him based on your silence, I have decided that I can no longer support either of you. So far, I'm fine with that. Silence can easily be viewed, and is a lot of the time complacency and complicit when it comes to shit like this. I don't know what post Telltale made on the subreddit. I'll have to go and take a look. There is a subreddit if you want to go check that out. I can't believe I actually donated to you guys. I thought you stood with us. Guess you're just another cis-het white woman willingly that's only an ally when it suits you. Harsh. The rest of the time you just stand behind your man like a good little girl. Oof. Shots fired. You and your husband are complicit in helping a rape apologist, a man who silences AFAB trans people. I need to see more of what Telltale said to actually gauge whether or not that's accurate, but I'm harsh, maybe unfair, but nothing wrong so far. We should have just left you to the hands of the Christian extremists. You are no different than the funny wives who are complicit in patriarchal oppression, except you hide behind being an ally, just like Jimmy did. I'm furious with you. Okay, starting to get a little dark, but still hasn't crossed a line for me if somebody were to get this, if I were to get this message. I swear to God, if I knew where in New York City you lived, I would release your address to the mob back in WV, and I'd help them burn you to the ground, literally. And now you've gone too far! And now you've lost all of the things that you've said that would have been valid with that one sentence. Don't threaten people. Don't threaten to dox people. Period. No. No, no, no. 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 Don't do that. Bad. There's nothing worse than someone who uses people like me as a shield in order to manipulate and abuse the very people you say you stand for. You should know better. As a woman, you know how oppressive good old boys clubs are, and yet you say nothing when those clubs are the ones your husband belongs to. This would have been scathing had this one sentence not been in there. If you had removed this one threat and the threat of a dox, this would have been perfectly acceptable. But you have to kind of throw out the entire thing as soon as there's a fucking threat like that in there. That was bullshit. That is absolutely not okay. And Telltale's anger about this message is completely justified. Let's see the other half. Shame on you. I hope extremists find you one day. I'll pay for the funeral myself. At least then the skeptic community stands a chance to finally getting rid of the toxic voices that do nothing but silence us. This is harsh, but not as bad as the first one. This is an actual threat. This is more of like, I hope something bad happens to you, which is a shitty thing to say, but starts getting into thought crime, which is a different conversation I'd be willing to have at some point. This is still crossing lines, but I don't equate this to this. This is explicit. This is, I hope something bad happens to you, which is like, I hope you get ass cancer. Yeah, well, you can hope all you want, but as long as you're not taking action, you can hope I get hit by a truck tomorrow. As long as you're not hiring a truck to hit me, I don't take this. I personally, Telltale and his wife their situation might be different than mine, where that is actually a little bit more of a threat than, and now maybe this is part of this message, I think. So if this is part of this message and saying that, I hope they find you, and if I find you, I'll give them that, then yeah, absolutely. This is just as bad because it's all part of the same thing. Excuse me if I've misread that, and these are actually, I'm going to assume these are actually part of the same message, in which case, yeah, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. You had some really good points, and I can understand your anger, but as soon as you jump to a threat, you lose complete credibility of whatever anger you have. It all gets tossed out the window. So yeah, fuck anonymous person over here who said this, because he doesn't show who it was. So yeah, I'm with Telltale on this. That's bullshit. If he's supporting Jimmy and being complicit about Jimmy's behavior by not saying anything, kind of maybe fuck him for that. I don't know if he's actually doing that. If he is, yeah, no, that's bullshit, and people are right to be mad and express their anger at him, but don't make threats, and don't threaten to dox people, don't dox people, don't make threats, don't execute threats. That's not okay. And I wanted to make that clear before I took off. I'm feeling a lot of feelings around this Jimmy Snow stuff and the subreddit. Yet again, it feels like survivors are further being shoved into silence. I honestly feel worried if I can or should say my feelings on this without making the situation worse. I spent so much time watching the videos made by Katie Daisy and I don't know who this is. Oh yes, Brina. I definitely watch. Sorry, I didn't recognize her tag. Her videos on this are very, very good and very upsetting to watch. I recommend them. I'll be adding them to the video description. I didn't add her yet. I'll get those added, as well as Jimmy's videos. They're not added down there, but please watch this stuff on your own. There's so much. There's a few others, plus reading the sub every night to see how people were doing. I can't help but feel huge pain with the news that this sub had to close. Oh, the sub is gone. There's such a feeling of helplessness that I feel at the moment, helplessness and some actual anger too. I've had thoughts I've wanted to share in the community but hesitated to because I sometimes struggle with being actively social and engaging online. I know this is all very sensitive stuff and I want to be respectful to not further any possible negative outcomes, so I should probably leave it here with saying this whole situation is heartbreaking. I just hope everyone can get the best care possible. And that would be for the best if everybody can get the best care possible. I get concerned if we don't talk about these kinds of things, that things get lost and forgotten and ignored because of it, including victims, including how people are feeling about Jimmy, how there is a lack of response by the atheist ACA community that he's a part of, that people haven't even put two and two together about Jimmy's involvement with the non-sequitur show, and that he's a complete fucking hypocrite. Saying he's on suicide watch is not an excuse for people to not say their piece or how they feel. Don't make fucking threats. That's not you saying your piece. That's you being an asshole. Don't make threats and don't dox people and don't threaten to dox people. Don't threaten people physically. Don't threaten people with a dox. Just don't make threats. If you're gonna threaten somebody, threaten legal action. You can threaten legal action, that's fine. Threaten them with a good time. That you can do that. That's fine. Don't threaten to harm people. Don't actually harm people. Don't dox people. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I have so many videos talking about fucking not doxing people. Jesus Christ. Don't attack Jimmy. But telling Jimmy how you feel when he's asked you to tell him how you feel is not harassment. That's not an attack. That's perfectly valid. That's totally fine. Alright, that's all I had. That's a lot. There's going to be that time of the month tomorrow where we're going to be talking about this, because I do want to talk to people that have a lot of different opinions about a lot of different things. I've got 5 people coming on. I have Katie Daisy coming on. I have... let me go pull up the thing. Who do I have coming on? I have a lot of people coming on. Let me open it. Where's my thing? Where's my thing about that time of the month? I gotta find it. Here it is. Okay, I've got Claire coming on. I've got Mika coming on. I've got Golden Unicorn coming on. I've got myself being there, and I've also got Katie Daisy coming on. Please come and join that if you are somebody who has been a victim in this case, or feels like they lost their voice and they don't have a place to talk and they don't know what they're going to talk about or how they're going to talk again about this kind of stuff. Come and hang out with us. We're here to talk about that and have those difficult conversations. I'm sure that not all of us agree. I'm sure that Katie will correct me on some of my language and the way I speak about things, and I'll be corrected, and I'm happy to be corrected when it comes to things like autism and assault. Mika does a lot of rhetoric and speaks on rhetoric, and I cannot wait to hear her take in this kind of discussions. Somebody who came out of atheism sort of a little bit through these communities, Golden Unicorn is going to add a lot to this, as well as coming from a whole different part of the planet. It's going to bring you a whole different perspective, and Claire's just awesome. So please come on by, come check us out tomorrow, where we can have a little bit more of a... This was just like, here's what's fucking gone on, and here's what's happened, and here's sort of a little bit my thoughts on why this kind of shit is nonsense. We'll be having more of a discussion tomorrow. Of course, people who disagree are also welcome to come by. People who think that something that I said was inappropriate are welcome to come by and berate me about how inappropriate I am. I look forward to seeing you. I'll catch you guys next time. My voice is tired. I'm gonna go play a goblin bard named Murphy who wears a pot on his head, hopefully. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So same time as this one. I'll see you there. Have a good day. And the internet never forgets. Have a good night, everybody.